How's going, guys? Welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto reincarnated as Rimuri slime and built Harem there? Part 2. Huge shout out to Shokugeki for this story. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Goblin Village Naruto's tent. Our blonde hero could be seen in his tent attempting to cook meals. Attempting because everything he made came out dry and disgusting. Why does this have to be so hard? Surely there's some kind of jutsu I could use to just make food appear? Questioned Naruto to himself. Someone still answered anyway. Naruto, you know I can help you. I know how to make ramen, spoke the voice from a bed in the corner. Naruto sighed to himself before answering. You know you aren't supposed to be moving, correct? We still don't fully know what effects you may have gotten from the nature energy. You could be growing tails right now, Shizu, answered Naruto. Besides, after you're better you can help more. He spoke with finality. Shizu wanted to argue but remembered how stubborn the blonde can be. Shizu had been in bed for a few days now. Tomorrow was going to be the day Naruto tried helping her around again. Shizu would argue that she was ready now, but Naruto had none of it. If you say so, I still want to thank you in some way for saving me from Ifrit. Even if I don't get out of this bed, I'm happy to be alive. She spoke expressively. Naruto brought her some water he had gotten from the river. She looked at it strangely before looking back at Naruto, questioning where it came from. Don't worry about it being dirty. I had made sure to show the others how to make clean water from rivers, he said as he helped her sit up. He put the cup on a side table and went to go help her. His arm went around Shizu's body to help set her up. Naruto couldn't see it, but Shizu's face gained some red when he did so. Again, that protective feeling, it's very comforting, so much so that I could fall asleep right now, Shizu thought in her head. Once she remembered what his point of doing that was, she turned to Naruto and smiled at him. Thank you for helping me, Naruto, she said as she drank the water. Naruto began scratching the back of his head, slightly embarrassed. It was no problem really, he smiled back at her. Oh yeah. I did say I was going to tell you how we're now similar. Shizu's face turned to confusion and then realization. Oh. I had thought you wanted to tell everyone at once, she asked. She could wait longer if it meant he didn't have to relive or retell his pain multiple times. Nah, it's fine. Would you mind if I went and got a chair quickly? I wouldn't want to sit on your bed, it's a pretty long story, he asked his guest politely. Just because he didn't have parents to teach him manners, doesn't mean he didn't have a godfather to teach him how to treat a lady. Jiraiya may have been a perv, but he was a perv who still got people to sleep with him. It's fine. You can sit on the bed if that's easier too, she said back to him. Naruto nodded in appreciation and sat near the middle of the bed. Well, where to start? What do you want to know? He asked Shizu. Shizu's first thought was to ask how he and she were similar but refrained. She decided to ask that later after she got to know Naruto more. Shizu finally answered after a few seconds. Where are you from? She guessed somewhere in Europe because of his blonde hair. He may have learned Japanese as a second language. I am from the elemental nations, or specifically Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves, he answered and then asked his own question. Can I know where you come from? I'm from Tokyo, Japan, Shizu answered. Where are the elemental nations? I've never heard of that place, she asked. Well, I've never heard of this Tokyo or Japan, so my best guess would be that we're from different worlds, spoke Naruto. Shizu nodded her head to herself. It wasn't too surprising they were from different worlds. Is there anything else you would want to know? Asked Naruto. Can I know about your childhood? Naruto flinched. It's okay, you don't have to tell me. Shizu spoke quickly when she saw him flinch. Naruto shook his head. No. It's fine. Kurama is always saying to himself when he doesn't think I can hear him that I need someone to share my pain with. Naruto took deep breaths to calm himself before starting to try talking. Shizu tried stopping him again but stopped herself when she realized that the Kurama person could be right. Sometimes she wished that someone would have been there to share her sorrows and pains. Naruto starting talking. Where I come from, everyone is judgmental, They're like a pack of wolves hiding among sheep, ready to pounce on anyone they deem less worthy of their attention. Growing up, I was ignored, shamed, scammed, and a plethora of other things. Being a ninja village set them up to be naturally brutal from the beginning. I was put in an orphanage by my Hokage, who was the village leader, but that wasn't the best choice. I remember trying to play with the other children, but the lady in charge would tell them how I was a demon. Someone trying to take their souls. Naruto stopped for a few seconds and looked over at Shizu. You probably don't want to hear every detail, so I'll skip up till I was 13. Just know that in between 4 and 13, I wasn't treated correctly. I understand. Shizu spoke softly. She saw Naruto's hands slightly trembling. Slowly she used all her saved energy to reach over and grasp his larger hands. Naruto wasn't paying attention and was surprised to feel someone grasping his hands. He looked at Shizu and saw her smiling warmly at him. He smiled back and grasped her hand. Naruto continued with his story. Anyways, I guess I should explain how the different ranks worked in Konoha or the elemental nations as a whole. There were the academy students who, when graduated, became genin. Then the genin would be put with 2 other genin on one squad with a jonin as the leader. I'll explain jonin later. After a few months, the genin could be opted in to take the chunin exam. Chunin was the middle ground soldier of the village. They could be teachers, gate guards, or border control. After chunin, there was jonin. I don't remember how chunin became jonin, but that's what happened. The next highest ranks were Anbu and Hokage. Anbu was chosen directly by the Hokage, and the Hokage was chosen by the previous one. Naruto paused before continuing. Anyways, my point to that was... Naruto continued talking about all his times as a genin up until his death. I battled Sasuke and lost, but I was definitely stronger at the end, he exclaimed definitely. Shizu slightly giggled to herself. To Naruto, it sounded beautiful. He started laughing too once he realized he got a bit heated over the battle. So, that's my life story. I may have left some things out, so is there anything else you want to know? Asked Naruto. Shizu nodded. Can I know how you and I are similar? She asked hesitantly. Oh yeah. I completely forgot about Kurama. I'm not, so I can't bring you into my mind to meet him, so I'll do the next best thing. Naruto started doing hand seals before his fingertips starting lighting up with lightning. It was the same jutsu he had been using to learn how to control lightning before. He had been practicing while taking care of Shizu. Carefully, Naruto started moving his fingers to shape the lightning. 5 minutes passed before Naruto got the final design complete. It was Kurama, with his 9 tails and everything. Beautiful, whispered Shizu unintentionally. Thank you, I worked hard on controlling the lightning more efficiently. Shizu's face lit up red when she realized she said that aloud. She became even redder when she realized she and Naruto were still holding hands. Naruto started speaking again. This is my partner, Kurama. We've been together since birth but not by choice. In all honesty, he was a real douche for most of my life. Always trying to take over my body. We became friends and partners near the ending of my life. I will forever be grateful my dad entrusted me with him, Naruto said. He looked over at Shizu and gave her a sad smile. Sorry, Kurama and I's relationship seems much better compared to yours and Ifrit's was. Shizu shook her head before speaking to Naruto again. Thank you for telling me about your life. If there's ever a time you need to talk to someone, I'm always available. She spoke seriously but comfortingly. Thanks, Shizu-chan, that means a lot to me, said Naruto. Shizu's face got red again when he used an affectionate honorific. Sure thing, Naruto-kun, she said hesitantly. Naruto did say she could use his name like that earlier, but it would still need time for her to get used to saying it. Well, I'm going to go train some more in the cave. I'll talk to you when I get back. Is that alright with you, Shizu-chan? Asked Naruto. You can do what you want, Naruto-kun. If you do see Elin and them, could you ask them to come to visit me? Asked Shizu. What? She could be bored too. Sure thing, answered Naruto. I'll see you later, Shizu-chan. Bye, Naruto-kun. Later that day. That was some pretty fruitful training, wouldn't you say so? Naruto asked his tenant. Kurama just grunted at him. Oh, come on, you can't be that upset that I always knew what you were thinking, Naruto spoke, annoyed. Yes, I can be. That was supposed to be my job. I'm the only one who can invade privacy, he yelled defiantly before cutting off the link. And he calls me the brat. Naruto spoke aloud. I'm too tired to deal with this shit. Naruto went extra hard today, determined to make a Chidori. His Rasengan had been coming along nicely as well. He was closing in on the amount of control he had to make the Rasenshuriken, even if it was still a long way away. Naruto couldn't wait to start cutting atoms again. Ga! Naruto heard suddenly. Naruto quickly made 3 clones and commanded them to collect nature energy, just in case. Naruto turned and ran until he came into a clearing that he heard the fighting from. Gobta was the first one he came across. On his chest was a cut, but it didn't look deep. Are you alright, Gobta? Asked Naruto. Naruto-sama? Where did you come from? Asked Gobta. Naruto shook his head. Never mind that. What's going on here? He asked urgently. Gobta was going to answer before Ranga howls could be heard from a few hundred feet away. He was battling what looked to be 2 human-like monsters with horns on their heads. Ranga looked ready to attack the 2 monsters again, but a blue wall of fire stopped him. A small girl could be seen off to the side, presumably the one who caused the wall. Ranga, come back here! Ranga quickly turned from the 2 monsters and ran towards Naruto. Forgive me, master! This happened under my watch! He started bowing his head. No worries. Naruto still heard fighting. He turned to see Rigor fighting another monster who had a mace. Rigor, try to retreat and come back here! Rigor turned and fled to Naruto. Naruto-sama! He yelled as he got there. Rigor fell on his hands and knees from exhaustion. Forgive me, I was tired. Rigor was cut off by something splashing his face. What was that, master? I feel better already, he exclaimed. That was a potion I had been preparing with the help of Kaijin and the others. They showed me how it was made, and I copied it. It's just as good or better than the dwarf's version, explained Naruto. Now, what's going on here? He asked, suddenly serious. The ogres had begun fighting us, accusing us of being affiliated with someone who had a mask that attacked their village. We think they may have seen Shizu before the Ifrit incident and figured that she and their perpetrator are the same people, explained Rigor. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. I understand. I will try talking with them, Naruto said. Naruto walked in front of the group and ignored Gobta's cries of not receiving a potion. Hey, you guys! I don't know why you're attacking my group, but we didn't do anything to your village, he spoke loudly. Naruto stayed a good distance away so he couldn't be attacked by the magic user suddenly. How did you know what happened to our village? Asked the tallest and the probable leader. Naruto's sweat dropped. You were yelling about how you would get revenge for your village, Naruto said. The leader looked more annoyed. I'm still going to try and kill you, he said defiantly. Naruto sighed, not wanting to deal with this right now. Okay, how about this? If I can successfully make you want to shit your pants, you'll come to my village and feast with us, and we can talk it out, Naruto said. Fine. But I'm warning you. I ain't scared of shit, the red ogre yelled back. You asked for it. The clones that had been gathering nature energy popped, and Naruto instantly went into Sage mode. This was the highest amount of nature energy and magicules Naruto had used Sage mode with. His hair shot upwards, most of his hair begun having blue lines along with his blonde hair. His eyes literally glowed with power, lightning could be seen streaking across his eyes. Around his eyes was still the orange pigment, but blue lines could be seen going into his hair. Around Naruto's body was lightning traveling from his head to his toes. There was a sudden increase in the wind around him. The clouds were a dark gray and swarmed above him. Naruto raised his hand, lightning struck his hand. Naruto looked calm the entire time as lightning repeatedly struck his hand, creating a large ball of it. He looked directly into this red ogre's eyes. Do you wish to taste my wrath? The ogre looked hesitant but determined. He looked at Naruto and screamed to him. I'm going to avenge my comrades! I don't give a fuck if I die! He yelled as he began to pull his sword out. Suddenly something came in between the ogre and Naruto. It was the smaller of the two female ogres. She seemed to not want them to fight. She went up Naruto first, ignoring the lightning that struck near her body. Please don't hurt him. He doesn't know what he's doing. Forgive his ignorance. I realize that you aren't harboring the one that killed my people, she said as she started bowing to Naruto. The ogres gasped, surprised the princess would bow to someone they would call a commoner. Naruto's face was monotone, but he started losing his sage mode slowly. The lightning stopped striking, and he turned back to normal. The pink-haired ogre was still on the ground bowing. Naruto went on his knee and patted her head. Don't worry, I never planned to kill you guys. My name's Naruto, what's yours? He asked nicely. The pink-haired ogre looked surprised but relieved. She answered when she noticed him waiting for her. Nice to meet you, Naruto-san, and thank you for sparing us. I don't know if you know this, Naruto-san, but monsters don't have names, answered the ogre. Naruto or Naruto-kun works. Adding san makes me feel older than I am. And I had forgotten monsters don't have names. Would you like me to give you guys some? Asked Naruto. This time the female ogre in front of him and the ogres in the back gasped. Why you want to name us? All at once? Are you sure, Naruto-san? She asked urgently, making sure she wasn't dreaming. Of course, just let me get into sage mode to make sure I have enough magicules, answered Naruto. It took 3 minutes for him to be ready. He looked towards the ogres again. If any of you want names, come stand in front of me, he spoke. Only the pink ogre came forward. That's understandable. I'll earn all of your trust later on. Naruto turned towards the pink-haired ogre in front of him. Is there any name you want specifically? I don't know any names, Naruto-san. She spoke softly. That's fine, and like I said earlier, plain Naruto or Naruto-kun works. He looked at her closer. Your name will be Shuna? Yes, Shuna is a perfect name, Naruto decided. He felt his magicules reserves take a hit. Do you like your name? And do you feel any different? He asked, slightly concerned. He was still new to naming monsters. I love it! The now named Shuna exclaimed. I feel that my reserves have expanded exponentially, but that's about it, Shuna answered. Naruto nodded his head, expecting this. The goblins and dire wolves changed overnight while sleeping. I suspect the same may happen to you. Anyways, are you and your group willing to talk in my village? Perhaps I can convince them to accept names there, asked Naruto. Shuna turned towards her group and then looked back at Naruto. Well, technically I'm the princess. I don't like doing it, but I can order them to listen to me, answered Shuna. Still, I would love for us to come to your village. Great! Ranga, gather the others, and let's get going, commanded Naruto. Yes, master! Ranga turned to relay the message to the group there. Naruto turned back to Shuna. Shuna-chan, go gather your group and they can walk behind us if they like. I understand that they may be slightly on edge and not want to have us to their backside, spoke Naruto. I will let them know, but would it be alright if I walked with you? I would like to learn more about you and your village? Shuna spoke timidly. She was naturally shy, but Naruto seemed nice. Naruto smiled. Of course. Shuna smiled back and told her people the plan. They didn't look happy and kept shooting Naruto dirty looks. He just waved back awkwardly. 5 minutes passed before Shuna seemed to have gotten through to them. Sorry, Naruto-kun. My older brother wouldn't let me walk with you at first. I eventually convinced him after threatening to cut what makes him male off, said Shuna with a sickly sweet smile. Naruto smiled hesitantly and unconsciously covered his own. Oh. And my other female companion will be joining us too. She said she would want a name eventually too, said Shuna. Does she want it now or later? Asked Naruto. I don't believe she cares, answered Shuna. Then I'll name her when we get to the village, is that okay? Asked Naruto. Shuna nodded her head. Right, well let's get going. I'll tell you about our village on the way there. Naruto turned to Ranga. Ranga, Take Gobta and head back to the village. Let them know we're having guests, and that they'll need to make more food for tonight's feast. Understood, master. Ranga picked Gobta and ran quickly. Gobta could barely hang on. I'm beginning to think you're trying to start a harem, spoke Kurama out of nowhere. Shut it, furball. En route to Goblin Village. I forgot to ask earlier, why was your brother angry we had someone that wears a mask in our village? Asked Naruto. They had been walking for a few minutes at most. Shuna and Naruto walked side by side with the other female ogre on Shuna's right side. In front of them were the male ogres that kept sending glares at Naruto as he conversed with Shuna. The other goblins walked behind Naruto and his group. Our village had been recently destroyed by a large army of orcs. When my brother was looking for survivors, he found a powerful mageon that seemed to be commanding the orcs. The mageon wore a mask, but since there were flames everywhere, my brother must have mistaken the masked person in your village for the mageon's mask. I apologize on his behalf, explained Shuna as she ended with an apology. Naruto dismissed the apology. I can understand. When my village had been destroyed by someone, I wanted to kill them too. Of course, later on, I convinced them to realize how wrong they were. They wanted the wrong kind of peace, explained Naruto with a faraway look. He shook the thoughts out of his head. So, are these orcs strong? They must be to take out an entire village. Actually, no. Orcs are one of the stupidest species in the world. They are usually disorganized and fight among themselves. They have numbers but lack leadership. If there were an orc lord, then that would explain their ability to work together, but there hasn't been an orc lord for a good amount of years, explained Shuna. Naruto silently took in all the information to keep in the back of his head. Sounds similar to the Biju, suddenly said Kurama. Naruto looked surprised. What do you mean? Is there some 11-tailed beast that controls all of your siblings and you? Questioned Naruto. He skipped 10 tails because he already knows how that one exists. No. Not to boost my own ego or anything, but I could handle all the Biju by myself. I'm that much stronger than them all combined, spoke Kurama. Naruto mentally sighed about Kurama's ego. Yes, I know. I was there when we fought them. What's your point? Questioned Naruto. Kurama was just reminding him of things he already knew about. Well, think about it. If these orcs are all following one orc, then that orc must be exceptionally stronger than the rest of them, theorized Kurama. Naruto hummed to himself. Kurama had a point, and that just means Naruto will have to be ready for when the time comes to fight the Orc Lord. Speaking of being stronger, we should try relinking soon. Mind mode may be essential in this world, advised Kurama. Naruto nodded his head. We'll try it when we go back to the cave again. Kurama agreed and went back to sleep. Naruto noticed Shuna trying to get his attention after he finished talking with Kurama. I'm sorry, Shuna-chan, could you repeat that? Asked Naruto. The other ogre looked annoyed someone would ignore the princess like that. Sure, Naruto-kun. I had asked what your village is like, repeated Shuna. Which one? Asked Naruto, not realizing this isn't someone he's told his past to. Shuna also caught on and looked confused. There are multiple goblin villages you live at? She questioned. Naruto was mentally slapping himself for his slip-up. Not really. One was my original home and the other was where I relocated, explained Naruto vaguely. Shuna still had questions though. Did you used to live in a human village? She asked. Naruto gave her a confused look before realizing they haven't seen him out of his human transformation. Naruto did a hand sign, confusing Shuna, and then there was smoke. After the smoke cleared, Naruto in his slime form could be seen sitting on the ground. Eh? Shuna looked surprised while the other female ogre looked confused. Where did Naruto-kun go? She questioned while looking around, thinking Naruto had switched himself with a nearby slime somehow. I'm right here, spoke the slime, scaring Shuna at the same time. Why are you a slime now? She asked after calming herself down. She went over to Naruto and picked him up and held him against her chest as they continued walking. The group in front of them hadn't noticed the noise and were walking in front of them still. Huh. This feels surprisingly nice, thought Naruto to himself. And people call me the pervert, complained Kurama. I am not a pervert, rebutted Naruto. Yes, you are, you little dash. Naruto cut off the link before he could say any more. He went back to explaining to Shuna why he's a slime. This is my original form. I can change into a more human-like form because of my abilities, he tried explaining. Shuna nodded her head but was still slightly confused. If it helps, I'm not originally from this world or plane of existence. That just made Shuna look more confused. So, are you an otherworlder? She inquired. Naruto was confused for a second before coming to a conclusion. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but sure. Let's go with that. I'm from another world entirely, though it's not that different from this one honestly, explained Naruto. How are they similar? Shuna asked excitedly. She was curious about different dimensions. Sue her. For starters, there's a lot of conflicts. Everyone seems to be on edge and monsters get the shortest end of the stick. Naruto sighed before continuing. Then there are people who are similar to Jinchuriki. What are Jinchuriki? Asked the other female ogre. Naruto honestly forgot she was there. Sorry, do you want your name now? It would be easier than not calling you anything, asked Naruto politely. I do not mind, she answered. Sweet, then how about the name? Naruto paused for a few seconds, regretting that he sucked at names. He was quiet for a few seconds before making up his mind. Cheyenne. How does the name Cheyenne sound to you? Cheyenne smiled and nodded her head. Thank you for that, Naruto-sama. Shuna never called Naruto-sama because she would be considered above him. She was a princess, after all. Cheyenne addressed Naruto with Sama because she was below him in the ranking. At least in technicalities. No need for Sama. We're all friends here, right? Asked Naruto with a genuine smile on his slime face. Shuna blushed slightly at Naruto openly declaring her as his friend. It meant a lot to her that he would be willing to be her friend. Cheyenne nodded her head in acknowledgement. Great, now what were we talking about again? I believe it was something about Jinchuriki, is that right, Naruto-kun? Asked Shuna. Naruto nodded in confirmation before continuing. Jinchuriki roughly translates to human sacrifice and is the term given to people who hold one of the 9 Biju. I've met every Jinchuriki and am one myself. They're typically seen as the weapons of the village and are a symbol of strength. Some are treated properly while others are feared, like me. I am the last Jinchuriki along with one of my friends named B. Most of the Biju roam around the world freely without anyone attempting to capture them. They're peaceful nowadays. Explained Naruto. Anything else you want to know? How does one become a Jinchuriki? It doesn't seem very pleasant, asked Shuna. Naruto's smile lost some of its happiness when he remembered how he became one. I can't speak for other Jinchuriki, but I was made a Jinchuriki the day I was born. Kurama had been mind-controlled by a Sharingan to attack my home. The 4th Hokage, my father, had tried battling Kurama before having to resort to sealing Kurama in me. My mother and father both died that night protecting me from Kurama when he tried stabbing me, explained Naruto. He slightly slumped in Shuna's arms after explaining how his life changed on the first day of being alive. Shuna was quiet out of respect for Naruto to recollect his thoughts. Cheyenne wasn't as good at reading the general vibe going on. Who's Kurama? She asked, not taking into consideration Naruto may need a minute to be ready again. Naruto perked up slightly. Kurama is the 9-tails fox that was sealed in me on the day of my birth, answered Naruto. Cheyenne nodded her head and turned to keep walking. Is he still there? Shuna asked. They were getting closer to the village. Yup. And today he's my best friend, even if he won't admit it. Naruto laughed slightly when Kurama denied it in his head. Really? That's surprising. Was he always nice? Shuna asked curiously. Nope. He's still an asshole, honestly. He was even worse during my early teen years. There were multiple times where he tried to take over my body and go on a rampage. Naruto laughed to himself at remembering when Jiraiya pushed him into the valley to try and use Kurama's chakra. Good times. That sounds horrible. How can you handle him, Naruto-kun? Shuna asked, surprised at how bluntly Naruto spoke about having his body abducted. Naruto just laughed it off again. mostly because Kurama was denied trying to steal Naruto's puny body back then. It's okay, Shuna-chan. Honestly. We've come to an agreement since then and we're partners for life now. I'm happy to hear that. It's good to have someone that you can trust unconditionally. Shuna spoke earnestly. She had her people from her tribe that she would trust her life to, and maybe one day Naruto would be added to that list. Definitely. Naruto hopped out of Shuna's arms and started walking beside them with his arms behind his head. Enough of that mushy stuff, what do y'all do for fun? Shuna gained a thinking pose while Cheyenne raised her hand as if she was at school. Naruto nodded at her to speak, even if she didn't have to do that. I enjoy training and sparring. I also enjoy hot springs, but I rarely get to experience those. Naruto nodded. If you ever want to spar, let me know. I'd love to see how strong you are, Cheyenne-chan. Cheyenne smiled and nodded in appreciation. What about you, Shuna-chan? Naruto would be the last to go. I enjoy sewing or cooking the most. Especially considering Cheyenne's cooking is deadly and I have to make meals for everyone, but you never heard that from me. She whispered the last part to Naruto and slightly giggled at Cheyenne's confused expression. What about you, Naruto-kun? I guess training, making ramen, sparring, hanging out with friends, and annoying Kurama, the blonde answered. Oh. And I like winning verbal spars. Shuna and Cheyenne gained a visible question mark above their heads. Huh? What's that? Were their respective reactions. Naruto chuckled a bit before answering. Back in my world I was known for making my enemies my friends. It was the next biggest thing I was known for besides my shadow clones. Basically, I would talk to them for about 20 minutes before they saw my side and joined me to fight a bigger enemy. It is a very bullshit technique, but it works, so I'm not going to complain. Naruto spoke with a completely straight face. Shuna and Cheyenne just nodded their head dumbly, not fully understanding what he was talking about. If you say so, Naruto-kun. What a powerful technique. I especially hate when you use it. I want to fight, damn it. But no. We need to create peace. Fucking bullshit if I've ever heard it, complained Kurama. How do you think we became partners? Naruto asked rhetorically. Shut up. Lizardmen territory marshlands. My lord! We come with horrible news. The orcs that have been rumored to take out the ogre village are on their way here. We must hurry and prepare for them. There are at least 200,000 of them we spotted, yelled the lizardman while on his knees. He was speaking to the ruler of the lizardmen. He was an old-looking lizardman, but everyone knew how deadly he could be with his trident. On his head was a helmet with hair that went off and onto his back. Was all they got as an answer from the ruler. His daughter, who stood to his right, could see the turmoil in her father's eyes. This was something they weren't prepared for. They could put up a fight if there was less of them, but otherwise. Impossible! There is no way orcs could be that organized, exclaimed one of the advisors that surrounded the ruler. They stood on opposite sides of each other with 3 in each line. Many other advisors agreed with the one who spoke, but another disagreed. It is possible, if there was an orc lord amongst them, spoke an advisor on the end of his line. Everyone went silent. An orc lord? Spoke an advisor fearfully. It would make the most sense, said the ruler eventually. Everyone turned to him, surprised at his declaration. I suggest we request backup. We will not win or even survive otherwise. The Orc Lord is known to feed off the fear of his opponents and his allies. The orcs underneath him eat anything and everything, including allies, he said regretfully. Who should we send to ask for assistance, my lord? Asked an advisor. The lizardman's ruler thought for a few seconds before answering. My son! Someone go fetch my son! His declaration was heard throughout the caverns. The guards that stood near the entrance bowed their heads and left to find the son. We will have him ask neighboring goblin villages. I've heard one has recently gained an extremely powerful ally. As you wish, my lord, was the response he received from his advisors. The guards then returned with someone walking behind them. My son, thank you for joining us, spoke the ruler happily. His children were the light of his life, even if his son was a little arrogant. "Father, why must you use such a boring title? I was given the name Gabara for a reason. Lord Jelmud saw potential in me after all," said Gabara as he went on his knees. He looked like every other lizard man, but with a little more muscle as well as being taller. He wore a long-sleeved shirt with yellow stripes and wore a brown chest piece. "What you wish to be called makes no difference," said his father. The lizard man standing to the side of the ruler glared at Gabaru, and he glared right back. "I have something I need you to do," said the ruler, ignoring the glaring match going on. And what would that be, father?" "Goblin Village Naruto's tent." "Ugh, what the hell happened?" Naruto had just begun waking up. Well, more like rebooting. He was more like a computer than he probably realized, not that he knew what a computer was. "Naruto-kun, you are awake!" was the first thing he heard. Suddenly, he felt himself being picked up and hugged against something soft. "Are these boobs?" he asked himself. He still got an answer anyways. "Yes, brat, yes they are. You are living every male's dream currently. I will save this in the unforgettable memories for ya," replied Kurama. "Thanks, pal. Hey, wait. Don't do that. And why do you have access to my memories anyways?" Naruto entered his mindscape and attempted to beat the crap out of Kurama. Kurama, of course, just laughed at his pathetic attempts and swatted him away each time. Eventually, he got bored of it. "Brat, don't forget you have guests still." "Oh yeah. Thanks, buddy." Kurama deadpanned at how quickly he switched moods. He watched confusedly as Naruto exited his mindscape. "Sorry, what was that?" Naruto fully opened his eyes this time. In front of him were 5 people he didn't recognize. "Sorry, who are you guys?" "It is alright, Naruto-sama. Considering the amount of alcohol you consumed, along with naming us, must have caused you to not remember what happened," said the one with red hair. He had 2 black horns that came off the sides of his head. Red markings were coming down from his eyes to each cheek. "Oh, I see. Kurama must have let me get drunk last night," Naruto grumbled. Laughter could be heard in the back of his head. "So, what are your names? I don't mean to be rude," he asked. "There is no offense to be taken, Naruto-sama. You have named me Benimaru," said Benimaru. "Shuna-chan's brother?" "I am sick," said the one with blue hair. He had 1 horn coming from the middle of his forehead. "Reminds me of Sasuke, but less annoying." "I was named Kirobe." "Good to see you in good shape, Naruto-sama," said a giant man. He looked like an average civilian from Konoha. "Good, not another pretty boy. I bet we will be great drinking buddies." "You named me Shuna, but I think you remember that, Naruto-kun," said Shuna cheerfully. Shuna had lost the red markings under her eyes. The 2 horns on her head lost their width but grew longer. "Cute. My name was decided to be Hakuru, Naruto-sama," spoke the last person in line. Hakuru looked like an old man, but Naruto knew how much power the older generation seemed to hold underneath all the wrinkles. Hakuru's horns had shrunk, but his neck grew over his jacket. Hakuru's hair had also grown as well as his beard. "Hopefully, he won't kick my ass if I ever mess up." Naruto had to look upwards for the next person speaking. "You gave me the name Cheyenne, Naruto-sama," Cheyenne said cheerfully. Cheyenne's hair had grown out down to her back, and the horn on her head had become skinnier. Her eyes had also changed. They were much more vibrant than before. "If Shuna is cute, then Cheyenne is fucking hot." "Holy shit," cried Naruto in his head. "You said it," replied Kurama. "Wait, no. I take it back, I mean wait, ugh. Go away, you stupid fox." Naruto cut off the mental link before returning to his guests. "Like I said yesterday, just Naruto or Naruto-kun. That Sama shit should be for someone else entirely." "No. No, master, you deserve more respect." "No, thanks." "Naruto-kun it is then." "No, you young man, have earned my respect for agreeing to what you did." See, Benimaru, Kirobe, Cheyenne, and Hakuru spoke respectively. "Fine, it's not like the goblins and dire wolves don't already do it," He whispered the last part to himself in exasperation. You had mentioned us coming to an agreement last night, what was it? Naruto was slightly worried. Was he drunk enough to offer up all his ramen? You agreed to aid us in getting revenge for our village. You said that we could work under you until we defeat the current Orc Lord, and then we were free to go, explained Benimaru. Naruto was mentally slapping himself. I don't want underlings, damn it. He went to open his mouth and say they weren't his to command, but someone interrupted him. Benimaru forgot to mention something. You never formally suggested or even agreed to have us serve under you. We are not held by any magic binding or contract or anything of the sort. We have just agreed to work under you for the time being, explained Hakuru. Naruto just nodded his head. If that works for you, I won't stop you, I guess. Naruto shrugged his shoulders, or at least tried to, before speaking again. Do any of you know how Shizu-chan is doing? Most of the ogres, now Kijin, looked confused, but Shuna was able to answer him. Shizu-chan has been doing better since I last saw her. Last night you asked me to watch over her before you blacked out, she explained. Thank you. I'll visit her after we're done here. Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about? He asked. Cheyenne was the one who answered him. We were wondering if there were any jobs you would have us do, she asked kindly. Naruto seemed to gain a thinking expression on his slime face. What do you guys do best? I can decide from there, Naruto asked curiously. If he knew what they were good at, then it would make it simpler to give jobs that fit their strengths. Cheyenne answered first again. I'm good at helping with either guarding or assisting others. I can fight, but I wouldn't be good as a leader. Could I act as your assistant, Naruto-kun? She asked innocently. Naruto could have sworn he saw Shuna gain an annoyed expression for half a second, but thought he was imagining things. What would I even need an assistant for? Naruto asked confused. Naruto didn't do much of anything. What would he need assistance with? I could organize your schedule for the day, and if you ever need help physically, then I would be there. Plus, I could carry you around so you don't have to walk everywhere. She spoke passionately. Those were some very basic things that he could do himself already. Being carried around by someone else just seemed petty in his eyes, but Cheyenne seemed really into it. I guess, I was thinking about starting an ANBU/ninja unit for the village, and I would need help organizing that, Naruto said to himself mostly. Sui perked up slightly. Sui quickly replied, Naruto-sama, I would be willing to be a part of this ninja unit if you were to start one. Stealth and infiltration are my best skills, he said. Naruto turned to him and stared at him for a few seconds. After all, this guy was claiming to be a ninja. It was something Naruto prided himself on being, even if it wasn't obvious to most. How else could he have stolen the Forbidden Scroll at 12? Because that old monkey was as perverted as your senseis, sarcastically replied Kurama. Not the point, angrily replied Naruto. Naruto turned to speak to Sui again. I wouldn't mind you being a part of it. Think of yourself as a general that works underneath me. Reports go to me before you send them to Rigard, understood? If we're doing this, we do it correctly, said Naruto, surprisingly serious. Sui was undeterred and nodded in understanding. Naruto lost his seriousness before turning the other four in the room. Hakuru, Shuna-chan, Benimaru, and Kurobe. What would you like to do? It took them a few seconds to answer. Hakuru answered first. I had heard some young goblins that were interested in swordsmanship. I will be their sensei and set them on the correct path, Hakuru said wisely. There was an edge of danger behind his tone. Naruto shivered slightly. What about you, Benimaru? Naruto asked next. Shuna and Kurobe seemed to be thinking still, while Benimaru looked like he made up his mind. I wish to lead some kind of force in a military unit. Battling is something I specialize in and would excel at, Benimaru said with respect. Naruto nodded his head. We don't have any kind of military forces at the moment, so for right now, you'll be considered our one-man army. How does that sound? Naruto proposed. Benimaru just smirked and nodded in agreement. Shuna spoke next. Since someone took up being your assistant, I will be the village's clothes sewer. I'd like to be in charge of uniforms and things of the sort. It is something I take pride in being able to do. I could also assist in the kitchen if we ever need it, but otherwise, I'll be working on clothing and things similar to that," said Shuna with an annoyed tone at the beginning. Naruto either ignored or didn't notice the tone and kept going. "What about you, Kurobe?" The big giant just shrugged his shoulders. Naruto took a few seconds to think before thinking of something. "Would you like to work with the dwarves in the blacksmith?" Kurobe seemed to perk up and nodded his head. "Great, I'm sure they'll appreciate the help. I'm going to go visit Shizu-chan for a bit if you need me. Wait till tomorrow to come to get me. I'm a little mentally exhausted." The others just nodded their heads in understanding. Shizu's tent. "Shizu-chan, you in here?" Naruto called as he walked in. Everything was the same as before he left to train in the cave. The bed area in the very back, kitchen to his right, and table with chairs to his left. "Hi, Naruto-kun. I'm still in bed," came a voice from the back area of the tent. Naruto smiled softly and walked over to where she was. "Sorry I wasn't able to take you out yesterday to go walking, something's happened." He scratched the back of his head in embarrassment as he sat on the end of the bed. "How are you holding up?" Naruto asked, concerned for his friend. "I've had better days. Also, when were you planning on telling me about the whiskers? Ilan-chan had told me when she visited. Plus, Shuna-chan mentioned them when she came last night. Care to explain?" she asked innocently. Naruto awkwardly chuckled. "I'm dead. Kurama, delete all my all my memories in general when I go. Can you do that for me, pal?" Naruto planned his funeral in his head already. "As you wish," there was a hint of mock sadness in Kurama's tone. "I had honestly forgotten about them. I remember Ilan mentioning them, but that was the least of my concern after I revived you. I wanted to make sure you were alive. Plus, you look adorable with whiskers. I don't know why you're complaining," he exclaimed. It's not like he was lying either. Her old burn mark disappeared, likely fixed by Naruto accidentally, and was replaced by 3 black whisker marks on each cheek. Shizu's face went red. Naruto couldn't tell if it was anger or something else. "Thank you for saving me, yes. But were the whisker marks truly needed?" It was half-hearted anger, but can you blame her? How could she be intimidating while looking adorable? She used to be feared by monsters. Someone who could control Ifrit. Now look at her. "Hey! Don't blame me. It was either that or a tail and ears, and I didn't think you wanted those. So, whiskers were the next tamest thing," he argued back. They stared each other down, either willing to back down. It continued for a few more minutes before Shizu pouted and backed down from Naruto. "Fine if you say so," Shizu said, no longer upset. "Thank you for what you did. She owes Naruto her life now. She was forever indebted to him." Naruto just waved it off. "Meh, it was nothing. No need to thank me." Naruto was never one to do something for a reward, even if he did end up getting one anyway. Shizu shook her head in disagreement. "Naruto, do you realize what you did? You brought me back from death's door. I wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for you. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life with you. Plus, I won't get bored. You seem to be someone who gets in trouble very often," Shizu said passionately but teasing at the end. Naruto shook his head and went to argue again. Shizu stopped him by putting her hand up in denial. Naruto just sighed and gave in while quoting one of his friends. "Troublesome woman." "What was that?" "Nothing. Nothing." "Good. Now help me out of bed, I feel stiff." Naruto nodded and stood up to help Shizu. She had placed herself on the edge of the bed with her legs hanging over. Naruto took one of his arms and wrapped it around her shoulders. She started standing up but lost balance quickly. Naruto held firm though, and she never fell. "No need to rush, nice and easy now," Naruto encouraged. "Is there anything you want to do first while you're up?" he asked nicely. Maybe she wanted lunch or something. Could you help me take a bath?" Shizu asked innocently. Naruto didn't know if she was denser than he was, but who the hell asks that? I can help you into the bathroom and onto the toilet, but you'll have to have another female help you with changing and cleaning yourself," Naruto replied, embarrassed. He was surprised when Shizu shook her head in denial. No, you have to help me. I don't want to wait for someone else and think of it as punishment for not telling me about my whiskers, she demanded as he sat her down on the toilet. Naruto wanted to argue more but gave in. Damn him and his ability to be guilt-tripped into anything. Fine. But I'm doing this as Naruto so I don't feel as weird. Shizu just looked confused. Who is dash? Smoke filled the room. Once it cleared, a person was visible where Naruto was standing. In his place was a female version of Naruto, Naruto now. She wore his clothes but her hair was done up in a ponytail to keep her hair out of her face. This is Naruto. Think of her as an alter ego. I had created this look while creating my sexy technique, don't ask why it was created. Naruto answered Shizu's unanswered question. Huh, interesting. Now come help me into the tub. Yes, ma'am. Later that night after the bath. Naruto, you know you don't have to stay in that form, said Shizu as Naruto helped her to bed. It was nearing midnight, and Naruto was planning on sleeping soon. You're right, but this is what makes me most comfortable while helping you, Naruto answered. Shizu just sighed but accepted the excuse. Thank you for helping me. It means a lot, Naruto-kun, Shizu said kindly. Naruto switched from Naruto back into a male when she was safely in bed. Seriously, think nothing of it, Shizu-chan. Helping people is what I do, Naruto replied as he started leaving. Shizu smiled in his direction when he reached the door. Good night, Naruto-kun. Night, Shizu-chan. Middle of Jura Forest. Gabiru-sama! Where are we? Yelled a group of lizard men. They had been walking for most of the day visiting different goblin villages to ask for help. They were going to the last one before they strangely couldn't find it. Fear not, men! I am the future leader of our tribe, and I will lead you to safety, declared Gabiru. Internally, he knew that was a bunch of bullshit. For now, let's set up camp and begin searching again tomorrow. His decision was final and the group of lizard men set up camp. Someone, help me, he exclaimed internally, before falling asleep. Goblin village around 4 a.m. Remind me why you're making me leave this early to go to the cave. Naruto was currently in the process of walking out from his house to the cave he and Kurama train in. Kurama had said he wanted to do something and wanted no chance of someone else following them. Naruto exited the village gate before Kurama answered again. I want to relink as quickly as possible. Yes, you have improved, but it's not enough. I've severely underestimated the strength and power of individuals here. Guess that's what happens when you're used to being called the strongest being in another world, Kurama explained. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. He had asked Rigard for some books the other day on the rest of the world, and half the beings he read about would make even Madara shit his pants. You're right, and sometimes I wish I still had Sage of Six Paths mode. True seeking orbs would help so much in this world, Naruto sighed to himself in dismay. Kurama seemed confused though. Wait, what? You don't have Sage of Six Paths mode? Questioned Kurama. Naruto seemed even more confused. Why would I? The lady who had spoken when he died never said anything about Sage of Six Paths mode. Naruto, think about it. What else do you have that the voice never mentioned? Kurama asked slightly mockingly. Huh? My host is an idiot, Kurama thought in dismay. I heard that. Oh, wait. You're talking about chakra, realized Naruto. Yes, there you go. Do you want a piece of candy? Kurama mockingly stated. Shut it, you overgrown fox. Besides that, I think I understand what you're saying. We will try it out once we relink, said Naruto. Kurama grunted and Naruto took that as agreeing with him. They were 50 feet from the cave when C suddenly appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto-sama, I bring news. There is a group of lizard men camping in the middle of the forest. They seem to be lost but have also been talking about finding goblin villages to recruit for something. I had also spotted the army of orcs, at least 200,000, on their way towards lizard men territory. What do you want me to do? Sui spoke in a quiet but quick voice. Naruto adopted a thinking pose before answering. I was in the process to go train to gain a stronger form. So, for right now, ignore them. I will find the lizard men after I have finished with that. For now, go and warn Rigard of the approaching army and that the lizard men may try and form an alliance with us," said Naruto in a serious tone. So he bowed his head and left. "Can you see the future or something? How do you know today would be a good day to relink?" Naruto was suspicious. This was too convenient for him. Anything convenient typically ended in a mess. "Well, why are you the only one that got to talk to the mystery voice? I died with you. Plus, you're the one that dragged my ass into this dimension," Kurama answered. Naruto was confused for about 3 seconds before realizing what Kurama was implying. "Did you also get unique skills? That's amazing. What did you get?" Naruto questioned excitedly. This was incredible. He and Kurama were connected, so theoretically they could share skills. "Well, for one, I have this skill called Great Sage. I have a guess why that happened. I believe it is because I was thanking the old man for such a great life. Normally you would hear her /him/it too, but I blocked out the voice for you." Naruto thanked him for that. "One voice was bad enough. It is a very useful skill, though a lot of times I just ignore it. It's a library that answers all your questions," explained Kurama in simple terms. "What else did you get?" This was game-changing. Having a voice with unlimited information was just what they needed. Naruto wondered silently why Kurama hadn't told him about this before. "I have a skill called Rampage, which basically makes me the Ten-Tails for a bit. The longest I would have been able to hold the form for is about 10 minutes. And before you ask, yes, I learned this from Great Sage. You would have noticed if I used the skill. At this time, your body would probably crumble from attempting to use that much power at once. Obito was only able to be the Ten-Tails pseudo-Jinchuriki because they had time to set it up in a safe way," explained Kurama. They had reached the cave when Naruto spoke again. "That makes sense. From what I understand, Madara had been making up that plan for a couple of decades. I would be more surprised if they did that randomly and on a whim. Now, enough of that stuff. We'll think about it another time. For now, let's try relinking," Naruto suggested. Kurama agreed. Naruto sat down in the middle of the cave before giving the mental command to attempt linking. The cave lit up in a color show of yellow, orange, some red, and a distinct blue. When the light came down, Naruto could be seen in Kurama's chakra mode, but there were some major differences. He still had the slitted eyes and black bars as whiskers, but the color scheme was different in general. "Is that dragon still affected you? How fucking strong was it?" Kurama complained. Naruto should only have to use his powers. He was strong enough. Kurama's ego had nothing to do with this. "I'm not going to complain, I look badass either way." Naruto spoke aloud. Naruto had walked over to a small puddle of water to see his reflection. He was right. The bottom of his cloak was lit up like a flame with a blue hue, while the rest of his cloak was still the standard bright gold. Around the collar was a dragon flowing from one end to another. His hair was still a bright yellow. The black symbols were still there as well. "Why is everything here make you a badass, but I don't get an upgrade?" Kurama grumbled to himself. Naruto was still in his little world checking out his look, so he didn't hear Kurama or the person that spoke next. /notice/ Individual QB has available upgrades. Proceed with upgrades? Hell yes! Kurama practically screamed. He deserved to look cooler too. Inside the mindscape, Kurama changed. For one, he got taller, and his tails grew longer. Next, all around his body was covered in armor similar to a samurai. But instead of the purple coloring he had experienced before, it was a dark blue. In front of him appeared a giant sword as well. Well, this is cool and all, but I'm stuck in this brat's mind. Plus, if I tried escaping, it would kill him. I'm not in the mood to kill my container right now either. At least I got something, I guess, Kurama complained. How would this help anyone? He couldn't interact with the outside world anymore. /notice/ Safely remove QB to the outside world? Kurama was seriously tempted to agree and be free, but he paused himself. He also considered questioning how they would achieve that, but Great Sage had never steered him wrong before. Great Sage, what would happen to Naruto and Ai's bond? Would we still be able to achieve our variety of modes? Kurama asked, surprisingly worried. Kurama would never say it aloud, but he cherished his and Naruto's unique bonds. None of the other tailed beasts besides Bee and Eight Tails had anything similar. /notice/ Individuals Kyuubi and Naruto Uzumaki Gifu will continue to be connected through a bond. Removal of Kyuubi from Naruto Uzumaki Gifu will not sever any bond. Mental speaking will continue. Proceed with the removal of Kyuubi? Make it as painless as possible, Kurama asked, anxious to see how this would go. /notice/ Confirmed. Removing Kyuubi from Naruto Uzumaki Gifu. There was nothing for a couple of seconds before Kurama saw a flash and was suddenly outside. He was about the size of a wolf and kept all his tails. All the armor that was given to him was there, and there was the sword that he was given. I'm in the outside world. I'm in the outside world. I'm in the fucking outside world again. Kurama yelled in his head. For the first time in decades, Kurama was free from any kind of confinement. Kurama turned and saw Naruto still gushing over his new looks. The fox gained a devious grin before walking up to Naruto. Naruto! Turn around quickly! Kurama exclaimed through their mental link. His goal was to prank the prankster. Kurama watched as Naruto quickly spun around and threw a kunai at him. The kunai hit him right in the eye. Ow! You asshole! I just got this eye! Exclaimed Kurama while rolling on the floor, clutching his eye. You can be too naive at times, Kurama. Remember I told you I could hear you whenever you think you're talking to yourself. I couldn't hear, great sage, but I could get the general idea from what you said. I'm happy for you, buddy, you can finally be free. Naruto spoke genuinely. His best friend was free and could finally have his own life. Kurama was no longer tied down to Naruto. That is true, but don't think you're getting rid of me that easily. You always attract trouble, and trouble is exactly what I need to try my new stuff. So now you're stuck with me, brat, Kurama declared. Naruto wasn't going to complain. If this was what Kurama wanted to do, who was he to stop him? If that's what you want, sure then. Just warn me before you attempt to use Rampage. I have a theory that if we're in your chakra mode, plus Sage mode, I'll survive. What do you think? Naruto's theory made sense to him. His base mode may not be able to handle it, but Kurama's chakra mode had a lot of durability. Plus, if he added Sage mode like before, he would be even more durable. It might work. Otherwise, you might blow up. Literally. Guts flying everywhere and everything. Naruto deadpanned at the bluntness of his friend. Thanks for the support. How about we try that another time? We wanted to try Six Paths mode, remember? Naruto walked into the middle of the cave again, just in case he blew up or something. Naruto activated it, and instantly Kurama could tell he did. His power figuratively and literally shot through the roof of the cave. The power flowed out of him, but it was different than when normal shinobi flexed their chakra externally. The air all around Naruto was filled with a purple-looking cloud. It covered the entire cave until Naruto reined it back into himself. A singular truth-seeking orb appeared behind him. He took a couple of deep breaths before opening his eyes. How was that, Kurama? Naruto was curious. You could easily handle most monsters in this world. You'd probably destroy most lower-tier dragons. A lot of demon lord underlings wouldn't be able to touch you. I don't have enough information to tell you how you do against the different demon lords, but I think you'd survive long enough to regroup if you were losing. We're still going to have to be careful if we come across that adventurer that trapped Veldora. Most of Kum's guesses came from Great Sage. I guess I'll have to fight a demon lord or something similar to it to figure out my limit. I guess I'll try fighting that orc lord first. I've heard that it can gain strength similar to that of a demon lord. Naruto moved from sitting on the ground and let his various modes fade. He waved to Kurama to follow him and planned on finding that group of lizard men. Do you want me to remain hidden from your friends and the villagers? Asked Kurama. Naruto shook his head in denial. Nah, they deserve to know. Just be careful around Shizu-chan. I don't know how she would react to you considering how similar our situations were. Kurama nodded and agreed to be considerate. He opened his mouth to speak again, but Naruto cut him off. And before you ask, no? If Ranga challenges you for whatever reason, you can't fight him. I expect you and him to both suck your feelings of pride up and deal with it, understood? Kurama looked annoyed but continued walking. Let's link for a while so I can sense the group easier. Again, Naruto and Kurama quickly linked. The same cloak as before appeared with the blue, flaming hue along the bottom. Did you spot them? Naruto gave Kurama a look that said, "Are you serious right now?" Nope, our link is broken and I can't sense anything. Yes, of course, I can sense them. I can sense everything for miles. They're about 500 feet to our northeast. Let's go see what they want. Gabra's group. Do not worry, men. Your great Gabra-sama will lead you to where we need to go. Gabiru and his men had spent the night in the cold with little to no coverage. Considering they were reptilian, it was a miracle they were still alive. Currently, they were walking slightly mindlessly through the forest. They had a general plan of where they wanted to walk this time, unlike yesterday. Recently, they had felt an enormous amount of magicules that came from a mountain southwest of them. Gabiru figured he could find whoever that was and convince them with his awesomeness to show him where the last goblin village was. They walked for a few minutes before something practically teleported into their sight. It was a young man that stood around the height of 5 feet 9 inches. His body literally glowed yellow, and there was a flame near the bottom of the cloak that shone a brightly blue. To his right was a fox with 9 tails. It was about the size of a direwolf but had a much more respect-demanding aura. The fox had blue armor that covered its body and had a sword strapped on his back vertically. So, you guys are the group of lizard men C had met earlier? The man asked. There was no tone in his voice, and that made him more intimidating for some reason. They look like a bunch of chumps, the fox surprisingly said. That slightly freaked the lizard men out before remembering they were similar to crocodiles and could speak. Gabiru was able to find his voice again first among his group. I am the great Gabiru, and these are my men. We were sent by my father, the tribe ruler, to form an alliance with the goblin village. Do you know where they are? The lizard man practically yelled. It reminded Naruto of when he was younger. Still, he nodded his head at Gabiru's question. I live there. Would you like me to show you to the village? Be warned, however, one wrong move, and I will cut you down without remorse. Naruto spoke in a voice that reinforced his threat. He was naive in his past, something he's trying to fix, and right now, these are strangers. This was no time to be making friends with potential enemies. He had the resolve to protect what he wanted this time around, without remorse. Gabiru rapidly nodded his head, but stopped and coughed into his hand. Feel grateful, for you will be assisting the great Gabara-sama. His men cheered in the back enthusiastically. What a weird group. Naruto thought to himself. I agree, Kurama answered. Do you think we could make soup from them? I'm kinda hungry right now. Quite tempting, but unfortunately, no. We may need this alliance to help with the army of orcs, Naruto wisely noted. Kurama agreed, but that didn't make him any less hungry. Naruto returned to the real world and faced the group of lizardmen. Let's get going. I would like to see if we can strike a deal as quickly as possible. Gabiru nodded and waved his hand to indicate for his men to follow Naruto. Naruto turned around and faced them again. Oh, by the way, the name's Naruto Uzumaki-Gifu. This is Kurama. He spoke in a slightly uncaring tone. He would deal with them until Rigord either denied them or accepted them. They continued walking, not another word was spoken between the two groups. Goblin Village an hour later. I hope no one was worried I left in the morning. Or, at least, I hope they aren't like Sakura and Granny. I think I may be missing more than half my brain cells from them alone. He rubbed his head from the phantom pain. And people wonder why he's stupid at times. Damn brain damage, that's why. Naruto walked 2 feet into the village before old memories were brought to the surface. Someone had the audacity to smash him to the ground like whack-a-mole. What the hell? Who did that dash? He stopped mid-sentence when he saw who it was. Standing to his right was Cheyenne with an angry expression. Her eyes told him she was worried as well. Kurama snickered at his partner's demise. Where were you? We searched for hours after noticing you hadn't come out of your tent for hours. Cheyenne started scolding Naruto for not telling anyone, but for especially not telling her. She was his assistant. It was her job to know where he was at all times. Hey, whoa, chill. Don't blame me only. He pointed over at his best friend who looked betrayed. Yell at him too. He's the one that dragged me out of bed at 4 a.m., Naruto declared. Kurama gave him a glare for trying to blame this all on him. That's not an excuse. From now on, I will go with you everywhere unless it's extremely important, Cheyenne decided with determination. Naruto paled slightly. Look. You can yell at me later. Right now I have to speak to Rigard immediately. Naruto transferred into his slime form and crawled out of the hole. He was going to go back into his human form because that's what he's most comfortable in, but Cheyenne had other ideas. She quickly scooped him up and held him in her arms. Don't worry about walking, Naruto-kun. I'll carry you, she said cheerfully, a rapid mood change. Naruto was going to protest but decided against it when Cheyenne's smile twitched and Naruto realized he might die if he refuses. If that's what you want, Cheyenne-chan. Naruto gave up easily. Women can be scary when they want to be. Rigard's tent. Cheyenne carried Naruto inside the tent. Gabiru had chosen 3 of his men to join him inside. The rest stayed outside for the time being. Kurama stood outside to watch the rest of the lizardmen group. Rigard, I have some guests I'd like you to meet, Naruto announced when Cheyenne brought him inside. Rigard's tent was spacious, but some tables could be seen throughout the tent with maps on them. Rigard was sitting at the end of a table with his advisors sitting at the sides of the table around him. One of Sui's body doubles could be seen standing in the corner. Rigard stood up to meet the group. Naruto-sama, welcome back, he said excitedly. We have started making preparations per Sui-san's suggestion. Naruto nodded his head and was glad Rigard could operate independently. Good. What have you come up with? Rigard moved back to the table and sat down. In front of him was a map with different pieces on them. Each piece represented a different group and where they were. These were accurate because Sui's clones, or body doubles as he calls them, were better Naruto's in that sense. They could have real-time reports rather than Naruto's clones, who had to pop. We figured that working with the lizardmen would be our best choice. We have chosen to visit them in 7 days because that's when the orc army would reach them, Rigard explained professionally. Good, we have their representative right here. Naruto stretched his body out of Cheyenne's arms to point at Gabiru. He's a bit of an airhead and is very arrogant, but I think overall he's a good person. We'll have to send someone with him on his journey back. There's no telling how smart the person operating the orc army is. Gabiru could be intercepted and ultimately killed. That could put us in a bad position when making deals with the lizardmen. Everyone agreed with Naruto. Especially Gabiru, considering he liked living. Sui stepped out of his corner. Naruto-sama, I will bring them back. While there, I will mention that our village forces would return in 7 days to help in the battle against the orcs. Sui's suggestion was quick and right to the point. That is fine with me, however, Rigard is the ultimate leader. So you have to ask him. Naruto did not want to lead. Rigard was in charge, and he would be damned if someone tried making him take over. Rigard agreed with Sui's idea. Sui would make sure the message got across. Plus, with his body doubles, he could better scout ahead, in the case that there is trouble. I agree with Sui-san. For now, Naruto-sama, could you act as a scout in Sui's place? Rigard asks. Not that he needs to, he's the leader. Sure thing, Rigard-san. I'll take Shizu-chan with me, she'll enjoy moving around. And before I leave, I'll make sure to say bye to Shuna-chan. Everyone nodded and the meeting was dismissed. Kurama turned to Naruto as Cheyenne carried him out. I hope you realize that the pink-haired one is going to be upset. Just because they were separated physically, doesn't mean they were in the spiritual sense. Kurama would still die if Naruto did. Why do you think I'm gathering energy for Sage Mode? Shuna-chan can be scary as hell. Huh. I wonder if these guys would be upset if I were to kill one of their brethren. It was a weird question, considering who it came from. Naruto was never known to be one to take lives unless forced to. Of course, if he knew someone was not able to be saved, he would kill them on the spot. He's grown out of naivety and planned to keep it that way. Still, it was strange considering what he was talking about. Meh. Who cares? They're literally ants compared to you. Kurama spoke from beside Naruto. Ranga had been given the day off after Naruto ordered him to rest. Kurama had joined his partner in just looking around the nearby forest for anything of interest. Yeah, but we were ants compared to Kaguya and we still cared when a comrade died. Niji was the first person to pop into his mind, but he ignored it for the time being. Plus, think about it this way. What if we were to recruit the ants in some way? What if they had an alliance with the spiders or something? That could easily be used to spy on enemies. Naruto became more and more sure as he spoke. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Kurama deadpanned. Naruto stuck his tongue out at Kurama and continued speaking. Seriously, though. Imagine the amount of intelligence we could have. Who suspects an ant? It's an ant for fuck's sake! Kurama was slowly, but surely, nodding his head. Naruto was almost there to convince his partner of his plans. Kurama was still hesitant. Sai, what if we asked them to create an alliance with the fleas and ticks and tell them to stay off you? That did it. Deal! Kurama looked towards the ants on the ground. You insignificant dash! Kurama started. No! You'll scare them! Naruto interrupted. We have to be more peaceful about this. No fighting, and let's just talk with them. Kurama looked annoyed at not being able to make them his slaves but conceded to his partner's idea. Finny. Naruto nodded at Kurama, finally agreeing. Okay. Now we just have to find a way to communicate with them. Both partners adopted a thinking pose and tried to come up with a way to communicate with the ants. Eventually, they weren't able to think of anything, and decided to ask around the village if anyone knew a method they could use. Goblin Village. The first person they visited was Rigard. Rigard had been able to answer many questions in the past, and Naruto was confident he could have an answer now. They walked up to Town Hall and opened it to find him not doing anything. Rigard noticed Naruto instantly, and started to make himself look busy. Ha! Naruto-sama. It is good to see you. What can I help you with? There was a bead of sweat that ran down Rigard's face as he spoke. Don't worry about it, Rigard-san. I would be slacking off if I were you too. We did come with a purpose though. We wanted to know if you knew of any way to communicate with ants? Naruto questioned. Rigard looked confused, but he dared not to question someone he looked highly up to. I do not know, Naruto-sama. I would suggest asking one of the ogres if they know anything. Sorry for not being more of help to you. Rigard bowed his head at Naruto. It's nothing too serious, Rigard. We just wanted to know if you knew anything. I'll go ask Shuna and Cheyenne. The rest are out on guard duty, taking over for Ranga. Thanks anyway. Naruto waved back at Rigard as he and Kurama left the hut. Sewing shop. Shuna-chan! Naruto yelled as he entered. There was no one in the front area, so he decided to go in the back area. He found Shuna sitting at a table, but she seemed to be deeply invested in something. He couldn't see what. Shuna, however, was in her own little world at the moment. Naruto had told her about his dad's Hokage cloak and how cool it was. She was planning to make something similar to that, but it would be specially made by her. Ha! Take that, Cheyenne! I'm making something Naruto would be wearing constantly. While in her little world, she didn't notice Naruto entered, and thus jumped 10 feet high when Naruto tapped her shoulder. You okay, Shuna-chan? Naruto had his head tilted to the side slightly when he talked to her. She had landed perfectly where she was, so he assumed she wasn't injured. Yeah, I'm fine, Naruto-kun. She quickly hid the cloak she had been making for him in a basket to the side. What can I help you with? She asked nicely while smiling. Naruto smiled back at her and asked his strange question. Do you know any way to communicate with ants? Kurama and I came up with an idea that would make learning the enemy's plans much easier. Shuna was going to laugh at the question but stopped when she noticed he was serious. No, I'm afraid not, Naruto-kun. She felt kinda bad because Naruto instantly wilted and looked sad. Damn. Well, thanks anyway, Shuna-chan. I'll go ask Cheyenne-chan and see if she knows anything. Naruto waved and turned to walk out of the little workspace, but Shuna stopped him. Wait. I'll come with you. I am suddenly very invested in your idea, Shuna declared to Naruto. Naruto was suspicious, but decided Shuna coming along wouldn't be a bad thing. Sure, I don't mind, Naruto answered. Shuna smiled brightly and walked to Naruto so she could walk beside him. Let's go! Office tent / Naruto's tent. Naruto had allowed Cheyenne to sleep in his tent as she pleased. It was more because she would be dead tired after demanding to carry Naruto around all day. He had more weight than he expected. Knowing this, Naruto wasn't surprised when he found Cheyenne sleeping on one of his couches. Sometimes she would steal his bed if he went out by himself, but otherwise she got the couch. Shuna, however, was not prepared and was surprised to find her rival sleeping on Naruto's couch. What's she doing? Shuna yelled to Naruto. Naruto shrugged his shoulders as a response. She just kinda vibes here. I don't mind as long as I keep my privacy. Plus, with her carrying me all day, it's the least I could do. It's not like I use that couch anyways, Naruto answered with little care. Shuna was still annoyed but conceded to his point. Naruto walked up to Cheyenne and started to attempt to wake her. Kurama had different ideas, unfortunately. Kurama jumped up onto Cheyenne and started pawing at her face. Wake up! I need to feed my curiosity! He practically yelled to the sleeping girl. Cheyenne bolted straight up and sent Kurama comically flying out the door. Damn mutt! She muttered under her breath. Cheyenne turned and noticed the two other people standing there. Oh, hello, Naruto-kun and Shuna-sama. She spoke respectfully. Please, Shuna-chan, when it's just us, Shuna replied. Cheyenne nodded her head and turned to Naruto when he started talking. Hey, Cheyenne-chan. Do you know a way to communicate with ants? Naruto asked seriously. Cheyenne stared at him, slightly wide-eyed. She was still for a few seconds before she suddenly latched onto Naruto before he could react. Cheyenne bawled her eyes out while talking. Finally! Someone who sees my point of view! Ants would be perfect to talk to. I love you for this, Naruto-kun! Cheyenne yelled while Naruto tried prying her off. Love, / get off! Shuna and Naruto yelled at the same time. Eventually, Naruto was able to shake the young girl off of him and set her on the couch. Naruto and Shuna stood in front of Cheyenne. So, do you know any ways to speak with ants? Naruto asked, slightly excited. This was the closest he's gotten to achieving his spy network. It would be better than Jiraiya's, he knew it. Cheyenne slightly wilted on the spot when he asked. No. But I do know someone who would know. She sprung back up to a standing position and leaned over a coffee table and was close to Naruto's. We can ask Shizu-chan. She would know, Cheyenne exclaimed. Naruto nodded at the idea. Shizu seemed to travel around a lot. Alright, let's go to her tent and ask her then. You can come if you'd like, Cheyenne-chan. Cheyenne agreed quickly. They walked out of the tent to go to Shizu's tent, completely ignoring the passed-out Kurama on the way out. Shizu's cabin / hut. Shizu had been up and moving for a while now. Naruto no longer needed to assist her to do basic chores or move around in general. Though, she did miss having Naruto around. He was a great guy to talk to whenever she was bored. I need to learn how to control my old abilities along with what I had gotten from Naruto-kun. Shizu's thoughts were interrupted by a knock on her door. She walked over and opened it to find Naruto, Cheyenne, and Shuna standing by her door. Kurama could be seen tossed over to the side of her miniature lawn. Naruto waved when Shizu opened the door and spoke first. Hey, Shizu-chan. We had some questions for you, mind if we come in? He asked politely. Shizu nodded her head and moved to let them inside. They moved towards the living room area and it was 3 on one couch with Shizu on another across from them. What can I do for you? Shizu asked curiously. Naruto pulled out a jar from Kami knows where and showed her what was inside. 3 ants were crawling around on the bottom of the jar. Shizu looked back at Naruto, slightly confused. What are the ants for? Naruto gained a glint in his eyes and went on to explain how his godfather had a spy network, and he had been thinking about it today while out with Kurama. Naruto had then spotted the ants on the side of the path, and the idea of using ants as spies came to mind. In the end, Shizu was still very confused about how the hell Naruto came up with these things. Naruto, that sounds like a wonderful idea on paper, but ants in this world can't think. They don't have a thought process, Shizu explained. Kurama? Naruto asked suddenly. Cheyenne was carrying him to where Shuna was working on clothes for the goblins while at the same time teaching some goblins how to sew themselves. Kurama was walking slightly to their left. Yeah? Kurama had discarded the armor and soared into some space dimension storage thing. Great Sage tried explaining, but Kurama ignored it /her/him during the explanation. Just in case I die from bodily harm, what would happen to you? Would you reincarnate here, at home, or not at all? It was something Naruto had been thinking about. They were connected through their bond, and if Kurama died then Naruto would be fine, but what if Naruto died? It used to be that he would reincarnate after a few decades or centuries because of his chakra. But there's no chakra here. Kurama stayed silent for the rest of the walk until they reached Shuna's tent. Meh, hell if I know. I'll just assume I'll reincarnate and be done with that subject. Naruto nodded and agreed to stop talking about it. Most people wouldn't want to talk about their deaths anyways. They had reached Shuna's tent while they were walking and Naruto was beginning to regret his decision. The only reason he was slightly scared was that he had promised Shuna to hang out for a whole day. Today was supposed to be that day, and well, here he is, about to leave again. Naruto transformed and hopped out of Cheyenne's arms to go knock on the makeshift door. Naruto knocked 3 times before calling out Shuna's name. Shuna-chan, I have some bad news. Elsa please don't kill me, I'm still a virgin. Naruto whispered the last part to himself. The door quickly opened and Shuna was standing at the door in her usual dress. Naruto had always thought that Shuna was the cutest out of his 3 main female companions. That's not to say Cheyenne and Shizu aren't precious in their own ways, but that's a discussion for a later date. Hello, Naruto-kun. What news did you have for me? Shuna asked while guiding her guests into her home. The inside was pretty basic, which wasn't surprising, all things considered. Naruto would have to ask the dwarves to teach the goblins how to make decorations and other household appliances. So, you know how we were planning on hanging out today? Shuna tilted her head in confusion but nodded still. Well, I'm going to have to cancel. Rigard-san had asked me to take over for Soai and act as a scout for the incoming orc army. Naruto explained. Naruto expected a couple of different reactions to him giving Shuna the news. Most were not good. The only good reaction he could think of was her understanding his position. What he had not expected, however, was her next question. Can I come with you? She asked innocently. Too innocently. Kurama, help me. Take over and say no for me. She's too innocent to say no to, I mean, look at those puppy eyes. Naruto practically begged through their link. Hell no. You deal with her yourself. Your mates, your problems. Kurama argued back. Naruto sputtered in real life and in his head, What are you talking about, you stupid fox? Kurama ignored Naruto, and Naruto was forced to answer. Are you sure, Shuna-chan? We will most likely be gone for a few days. Shizu will be with us too, so I can't always be there to make sure you're both alright. Naruto asked kindly. Shuna looked annoyed when Naruto said about protecting her and Shizu, but Naruto defended himself before she could refute him. I'm not trying to say you both can't take care of yourselves, it's just that I don't want a repeat of history where I lose someone because I wasn't there. Shuna seemed to calm down after Naruto explained himself. She looked him right in the eyes before speaking again. I understand where you are coming from, and I know Shizu-chan isn't in the best of shape right now, but I will be fine. I know a lot of defensive and offensive magic. I would be a good support to assist you and Shizu-chan if needed. Shuna explained, determined to get her day with Naruto. Naruto sighed, but still nodded his head in understanding and agreement. If that's what you want, then sure. You can come with Shizu-chan and I while Sui goes to the lizard-men territory. Shuna cheered. Cheyenne looked ready to ask to go as well, but Naruto shut her down quickly. Sorry, Cheyenne-chan. I need you to stay here in the village in case anything happens. Think of it as a mini vacation to spend some time by yourself. Naruto reasoned. Cheyenne conceded to his idea and agreed to stay back. Naruto left Shuna to pack a bag and prepare while he went to inform Shizu he was taking her with him. Cheyenne went to go take a nap because she had done an all-nighter the night before. Shizu's hut/tent. Shizu's abode could be explained in a few words. It was bland, Spartan, but practical. Everything was laid out in a way that made it moving around easy. She was one of the few people in the village that had a sink. Naruto had gotten the idea to put gallons of water in a storage seal and then taught Shizu how to release it. She had minuscule amounts of chakra, but that could change down the road. Shizu-chan! Naruto made himself known while walking in with Kurama. Shizu had continued to get better over days since he had last helped her. Now she could walk around easily, if not with a little limp. Naruto had walked in on her making herself some lunch. Shizu turned when Naruto came in. Naruto-kun, good to see you, she said with a smile. How are you? She asked politely while sitting at the table with her sandwich. She saw Kurama but ignored him for the moment. Naruto sat across from her and then spoke. Rigard-san had asked me to take you and Shuna-chan to go scout out the orc army. Sui had been put in charge of delegations with the lizard men, so Rigard had asked me to fill in for him. I had asked if you could come along because I thought you would enjoy getting out. He paused for a few moments to let her finish chewing. What do you think? Shizu wiped her mouth with a napkin and then answered. That sounds wonderful. Is there anyone that is going with us besides Shuna-chan? Shizu asked as she went to clean her plate. Naruto shot a side glance at Kurama. My partner, Kurama, would be going with us as well. Ranga is off with border control. Shizu turned around, looking confused because she didn't know who Kurama was. Naruto pointed at Kurama, who was lying beside the door. That's Kurama. He's the demon that was inside my gut, Naruto said carefully. He was unsure how Shizu would react. He looked at it from her angle, not that he needed to. Back when he first met Killer Bee, this is a similar situation. Naruto had a burden who wanted to kill him, and he met someone who was best friends with his burden. It gave Naruto hope, but it also ate at him for a while. Why was he the one that had to have the violent chakra beast? Why did he have to suffer while someone else seemed better off with theirs? It was a similar situation. Shizu, however, was much more positive than Naruto was. She is too pure at times. Shizu didn't get jealous. Instead, her face lit up and started sparkling. She limped quickly, over to Kurama, and started stroking his fur. So soft, she declared. Kurama woke up, and his back legs started moving similarly to a dog when they are petted. Shizu continued this until Kurama regained clarity. He spotted Naruto holding his gut and trying to hold in a laugh. Not a word, he warned through their mental link. His threat wasn't very effective considering his state right now. Shizu had him on his back receiving belly rubs. Naruto still wanted to go eventually, so he saved his best friend. Come on, Shizu-chan, Kurama still needs some dignity at the end of the day. Shizu pouted but still stopped. She got curious when she looked at Naruto, though. Naruto-kun, are your whiskers as sensitive as Kurama here is? She asked innocently. Naruto knew better though. He still couldn't lie though. I mean, yes, they are sensitive, but don't try it, he warned as Shizu stalked towards him. She took a few steps before pouncing him. Let me pet your whiskers. And this was the day Naruto learned how good rubs felt. Forest 30 minutes later. Naruto, Shizu, Shuna, and Kurama were currently traveling at a slow pace through the forest. Naruto and Kurama could have run ahead, but Shuna and Shizu, in her current state, wouldn't be able to keep up. So, instead, they kept in their current pace of walking. Naruto could have also sent shadow clones ahead, and that would be the perfect idea for this kind of mission, but he had clones working on chakra control back in the cave. He hadn't forgotten about the idea of a Chidori variant. How well do you think that's going to work? Naruto asked Kurama as they continued walking. Shizu and Shuna were off to the right side of Naruto while Kurama was to his left. What? Kurama asked, not hearing Naruto's earlier thoughts. How well do you think my Chidori idea is going to work? He restated to his partner. Kurama took a few seconds to respond. I think you will fail, Kurama answered bluntly. Naruto nearly tripped over his own 2 feet. What? Why do you think that? Do you think I'm not good enough? Naruto asked/demanded. He and Kurama had been through literally everything together. How could his partner doubt him like that? Calm down, Kit. It's not me thinking you're incapable. But let's review the facts. He paused. What killed you in the first place? Why are you asking me this? Naruto asked, suddenly defensive. He had stopped walking, and his companions were getting worried, but Naruto ignored them for the moment. Answer the question, Kurama replied calmly. Sasuke's Chidori, Naruto answered after a few seconds. Right. Now, here's another question for you. Suppose a child almost drowns in water. How do you think that kid would react if, say, his parents throw him in to swim again? Kurama asked. Naruto thought for a few moments before he figured out what Kurama is trying to say. You think I'd become traumatized? That I'll freak out when I see it again? Naruto said apprehensively. Exactly. I'm not saying you'll never be able to learn it, but Naruto, you haven't even been in this world for a year. Slow down. You have Sage Mode, R Mode, and Sage of Six Paths Mode. You don't need any more new techniques, Kurama explained. Kurama may not show it, but he was worried about his partner. Naruto hasn't stopped since he got here, and that can tire someone out quickly. I'm not saying to stop training, just give yourself a break every once in a while. Kurama cut off the link. Kurama had to pat Naruto a few times to get him out of his funk and to notice his 2 companions again. Shizu and Shuna looked at Naruto with concern after adopting a blank face for a few minutes and stopped moving. They both noticed the light coming back into Naruto's eyes as he refocused on them. Shizu was the one to speak first. Are you alright, Naruto-kun? You had stopped completely for a few minutes there. Is everything okay? She asked, concerned for her friend. Shuna spoke before Naruto could respond. You aren't sick, are you? I brought water and some medicine if you need it. Shuna had started reaching for her bag, but Naruto laid his hand on her arm to stop her. He put his other hand on Shizu's shoulder and then smiled brightly. Thank you both. For caring about me, I mean. It feels nice to know someone has my back. He turned around to start walking again. Come on, I'll explain along the way. Shuna and Shizu looked at each other, nodded, and followed after Naruto. Forest Hill overlooking the Orc Army last known location. Naruto did not end up saying exactly what had happened in the few moments he was frozen. Originally, he was planning on telling them about Kurama's theory but decided against it. That would have the 4th or 5th time he's talked about his past. He doesn't need to involve others in his problems more than he already has. That was the least of his problems because he and his group had just arrived at where Soai had last spotted the orcs. It had been about 4 days since Soai and Gabru went back to the Lizardman territory. Meaning, they had about 3 days until they would bring their reinforcements to the Lizardmen. Kurama had already been tasked to return to the village and tell everyone else his plans. They would arrive around the same time Naruto does. The dire wolves are carrying the goblins and the Kijin are fast themselves. What do you two think their main goal is? Naruto asked suddenly. They had been staring from atop this hill for a while now. The orcs or the Meijin behind them? Shuna asked. Shizu had a good idea of why the orcs are doing this but waited until Shuna gives her idea. The orcs. I can already guess that the Meijin is doing it for power. Or they're operating under someone who has an agenda. I've dealt with people similar to that before. They create an army and stew fear so that they can swoop in at the end and rule the world. Naruto answered. Shizu silently agreed. She had lived for a few decades at this point, and knew how villains work. Shuna gave her answer to the original question. I think the orcs are going to the nearest large population to consume them. From what I understand, an orc lord has an ultimate skill called Starving Ones, which makes his entire race constantly hungry. Any other being they consume adds on to their power, Shuna explained. Naruto responded. So, this Orc Lord is trying to find food for its entire race? That's commendable in a twisted way. His companions nodded their heads slightly. Shizu spoke up. Well, we should probably keep going towards the Lizardmen territory. There's a good chance they could already be close to there. Shuna and Naruto agreed, and they left to go towards where the Lizardmen are. Lizardmen territory. So I had arrived at the Lizardmen's land with little issue. Gabriel and his posse walked in front of Soai most of the time. When they went towards the entrance, they allowed Soai, and once Gabriel vouched for him, they took him straight to their leader. They took him to a large cavern where the leader sat on a chair, slightly elevated above everyone else. Chieftain, Soai spoke neutrally. In front of him were Gabiru and his party bowing to the chieftain. Soai stood behind them, but still had an aura that demanded respect and attention. I assume you are a representative of the ogre village? The chieftain guessed. There was some logic there. It's not every day that monsters intertwine with one another. So I respectfully denied the claim. No. I serve under a master that comes from a goblin village. His name is Naruto Uzumaki Gufu. He is a slime, and he had sent me here to ally with you. The chieftain looked pleased with the idea of another group helping them against the orcs. Unfortunately, one of the younger generations was not as keen. If you serve under a slime, you must be incredibly weak. Why would the proud lizardman work with a stupid slime dash? He was cut off when something pressed against his neck. There were multiple lines of the string pressed against his body and his neck. So I turned around and spoke coolly towards the lizardman. Speak about my master like that again, and I'll end your life where you stand. So I spoke without remorse. The chieftain joined the conversation before something happened. Stand down! He yelled. We will not disrespect our guests or anyone who tries to help us. We are proud, yes, but we are not ignorant. Take a second and think, we wouldn't stand a chance against that number of orcs. Especially when an orc lord leading them, the chieftain explained. So I nodded, satisfied that the chieftain had a good head on his shoulders. I will make sure to inform my master of what has happened here. It was a smart decision to stand with Naruto-sama. So I spoke with little care, but there was an edge to his speech. Anyone could tell what would happen if another was to speak against this Naruto figure. The lizardmen chieftain stood up and looked towards Soai. When can we expect your reinforcements? He questioned. A few days, if that even. My master is making much haste to get here. I can assure you that if you stay here until my master arrives, this war against the orcs will be much easier. Soai spoke with confidence. Some would say he was foolish, arrogant. However, he knows how strong his master is. Sending clones to the cave while Naruto trained was an eye-opener. Very well. In that case, we will follow your advice. Gabiru, still a little high from having his ego stroked, looked ready to oppose his father. Father, surely you see that we can easily defeat these orcs. We don't need allies, dash. He was interrupted by the intense killing intent directed at him. Surprisingly, it wasn't Soai that was angry. It was the chieftain that was upset. Have I failed as a parent? When did I teach you, or any of your age, to be this arrogant? We need allies! He roared at his son. Why are your eyes so clouded? There are only 20,000 of us in total. Only half are battle-ready. How do you suppose we fight 200,000? He said in a low voice. Gabiru was silent. Never had his father raised his voice against him, or any of his siblings even. Gabiru remained motionless while Soai moved to leave. I will inform my master of the agreement we've come to. Expect a battle in 3 days, and expect a massacre. With his piece said, Soai blurred and disappeared. Similar to how a body flicker worked. Back with Naruto, Shizu, Shuna. They had left the area where Soai had last seen the orcs. Now, they were pacing themselves to arrive at the lizardmen's land in exactly 3 days. Kurama had returned a while ago. He reported that Benimaru, Cheyenne, and Hakuro would arrive with 20 goblins with their direwolves. Kurama was then sent to travel with the other group. Naruto knew they were capable, but this way they had instant communication. Naruto was planning to use the rest periods to train more. He would sleep on the night before they reached the lizardman's home, but until then, he would train his ass off. Meaning there would be at least 1,000 Narutos training away from their campsite. He kept his progress a secret to give his companions something to look at when he arrived. Naruto Uzumaki never did anything subtle. Naruto Uzumaki Gifu would be no different. Shizu interrupted him from his thoughts. Naruto-kun, have you thought of a way to defeat the Orc Lord? She questioned. Shuna looked interested as well. She's right, this isn't a normal foe. It could have the power of a demon lord. Shuna gave her input. Naruto nervously scratched the back of his head. Yeah, about that. Most of my plan consisted of hitting it until it submitted, he replied, slightly embarrassed. If that doesn't work, I might eat it. That or experiment against it and test some new abilities against it, Naruto stated. New abilities? Shuna inquired. Shizu seemed just as confused. Oh. I haven't shown either of you my newest/improved abilities, have I? He asked hypothetically. Instead of waiting for an answer, he answered himself. In that case, let me show you what I got. Naruto walked over to a lake that was close to them. It wasn't large but big enough to host an ecosystem. Slowly, Naruto raised his hand. At first, it was a small, orange flame. Then the flames rapidly changed. Quickly, becoming black, white, blue, and purple. The flames stayed around the size of Naruto's head. Naruto moved his hand in a throwing motion, and the fireball shot into the sky. It went past the clouds before disappearing. Shizu and Shuna expected a lot more. All that dramatic build-up for this. Boom. They all looked up, expressing different emotions. Naruto looked proud at the fireball that had exploded into a small city-sized explosion. Shuna looked fascinated and awed that someone she was close to was this powerful. Shizu's feelings were, a little more complicated. At first, she was amazed at Naruto's feats. That was a small ball he had thrown into the sky. She didn't want to think about how big it would be if Naruto had let out more of his power. After the initial amazement, Shizu became a little fearful. She had known plenty of people who fell to the temptations of power. They became powerful enough to make others fearful of their presence alone. She was sure Naruto was different, but she hadn't known him for very long. She slowly turned to Naruto and asked a question. Naruto-kun, how much control was that? That must have taken years to master that amount of control. I am unsure if Shuna-chan noticed, but I did. That explosion was delayed. Am I right? Shizu theorized. Shuna was still glossy-eyed from the example, so she didn't hear this conversation. That's right. However, it only took about 1,000 clones working for 12 hours straight to gain more chakra control. With that math, I gained about 33 years of straight control working through my clones. Even then, I only really have 45% total control at the moment. My goal is to be able to that with just a single flicker of flame, Naruto explained. He went on into more details, but Shizu tuned him out. I don't usually swear, but Naruto's fucking insane. 33 years? 33 years. After 33 years total of training and he's only got 45% control? How much power does he have to control? Shizu continued to rant to herself. Eventually, they all got out of their unique funks and looked for somewhere to set up camp. They all agreed to a spot in the middle of a clearing by a river. It was good for the watch person because of the height advantage of trees. The river also provided somewhere where everyone could clean themselves. Shizu asked Naruto to join them as Naruto again, but he firmly denied the request. There ain't no way in hell I'm fulfilling Pervy Sage's dreams. Naruto is meant for stealth and trickery, not a free way to steal glances as women's nakedness. He spoke wisely to Shizu after she asked. Shuna didn't care either way, but Shizu looked depressed. If Naruto had given her fox ears, they'd be drooping at the moment. But don't you care about my happiness, Naruto-kun? Shizu's lip quivered as she spoke. Naruto almost gave in there and then. Curse you, Pervy Sage. I like being ignorant more than being informed, Naruto declared in his head. He escaped by saying he would take the first shift and that the girls should sleep after their baths. Shizu reluctantly agreed. Shuna agreed on the condition that her sleeping bag would be to the right of Naruto's. Naruto shrugged carelessly, not seeing the problem. Meanwhile, Shuna schemed inside her head. I will cuddle with Naruto-kun, she declared with determination. Shizu noticed the glint and was a little brighter than Naruto. Fine. I can play that game too. Shizu smirked as they all went on to whatever they wanted till they fell asleep. His whiskers will be mine. Shizu kept her demon-like aura throughout the night. Any animal or monster ignored the area, purely because of her. Let it be said once more. Women are scary. Lizard men territory one day until Naruto's party arrives. These swamplands are thick, how in the hell do they even walk through here? Naruto ranted as they arrived at their allies' home. They had walked continuously from their previous location, only breaking a few times to rest. They had decided to stop one last time before entering their mountain opening. Naruto, being the workaholic he is, had gotten immensely stronger through clones. He still had to work on his physical strength. Shizu answered for him. They have webbed feet, it helps them traverse the land much easier compared to mammal-based creatures, she explained. Of course, they would have adapted through natural selection to survive better. Shuna added. They also have it so thick because it adds a layer of protection. The orcs will be much slower compared to what they could be. No other monster, except for other water-based ones, would have as easy of a time as they would. Naruto could see what they were saying. I guess it's similar to how the Shokugeki had one of the best defenses only because of their sand. Shokugeki, my clan's home, had the best defense because of the multiple whirlpools surrounding it. It took 3 other entire villages to defeat my clan's home, Naruto said, proud of how strong they were. He would boast for them. They were still his family, after all. Shuna and Shizu looked amazed at how strong his clan must have been. They seemed ready to ask more about his home, but he stopped them first. I want to hear some stories about your homes. I can't be the only one storytelling here, he said, slightly excited. Shuna and Shizu looked at each other and nodded. Shuna spoke first. My home was a village filled with only ogres. Our home ran on a system similar to a monarchy, and I was considered the princess. My brother was considered the prince. Most of my life was being pampered and prepared to be a housewife. I was expected to marry someone into the family to become the king after my brother and his future wife passed. Shuna's tone was one of annoyance and disappointment. She didn't like the idea of being seen as a trophy, or something to be won. Shizu had a hand on her shoulder as she continued. My brother played the role he was supposed to, but that doesn't mean he liked it. I remember him coming home from hunts and ranting about how our father kept pushing him towards females. Cheyenne was someone our father pushed for, but she was always more of a sister to us. Shuna took another sigh as she continued. Skip forward to this year, and Benimaru and I were both engaged to separate spouses. I was with an ogre that had green hair with a huge ego. Benimaru was with someone that had long, blue hair and was from a noble family. Skip again until we were about to be officially married, and then the orcs attacked. Shuna started shaking slightly. Shizu had her wrapped in a full-on hug while he stood across from her and let Shizu comfort her. Ironic, isn't it? I've been comforted before, but I still can't exactly comfort someone else, Naruto thought to himself. Kurama snorted. Doesn't help that when you did, it usually was more negative than positive. Remember the pink-haired one when you were kids? You would try comforting her, and half the time she spat back in your face because the great Uchiha wasn't the one doing it, Kurama slightly ranted. Kurama may have enjoyed Naruto's pain as a kid, but he was a lot less sane back then. Now, he sees more of the mental trauma Naruto has gone through. Naruto slightly ignored Kurama to listen to what Shizu and Shuna were talking about. They had agreed to just cut out the last part of the story. Shizu then turned to Naruto. I'll tell you guys about my home, but for right now, let's get some tents set up and somewhere to sit. Naruto and Shuna agreed. Naruto went off into the woods to find some logs to sit on and plenty of sticks for a fire. Everyone was around the fire about 30 minutes later after everything was set up. Naruto sat on a log that was across from Shizu. Shuna was on her own log to Shizu's left. They had some wild boar and some berries for supper and agreed to let Shizu tell her story after they all ate. They all threw away their leftovers, and that's when Shizu started her story. My world is much different than either of yours. Just hearing the tidbits of Naruto's, and living here for decades, proves that to me. My world is far ahead in technology comparatively. We have planes, cars, computers, phones, and advanced medicine. Just to name a few. Our world, however, was similar to Naruto's in the sense that we were in constant war. Our wars were much more destructive. I had lived alone with my mother during a war called World War II. My father had been drafted to fight for my country, Japan. I was sent here through a summoning by a demon lord, but before I was summoned, my hometown had been bombed. The American forces retaliated against us and bombed Tokyo. I had been injured, and my mother had been killed. Shizu was much more stable while retelling her backstory compared to Shuna. She was calm and didn't show any signs of PTSD. When I arrived here, I was just a small child. The demon lord Leon Cromwell had viewed me as worthless, a waste of existence. I had begun to beg to be useful to him. I had thought that if I was useful enough, he would end the pain I was experiencing. He gave in but gave me something I wished he hadn't. Ifrit. Ifrit possessed me and healed my wounds. I was able to control my rampaging magicules. I then went on to serve Leon for many years until the hero came to invade his mansion. I was left on the rear guard, abandoned. Ifrit recognized the strength of the hero and did not intend to fight her. Instead, she took me as an apprentice. I went on to learn from her for a few years until she left on a grand quest. I was left alone to adventure the world. The rest of my life, up until meeting the adventurers, was filled with me doing quests for the guild and building a reputation. Shizu ended her tale. There was a stagnant pause as everyone soaked in the information. Wow. Talk about one hell of a story. A world whose wars were worse than ours. That has to be in a universal record book or something. Naruto thought, still slightly amazed. I wonder if the bombs were comparative towards tailed beast bombs, Kurama thought alongside Naruto. It didn't sound like it. From what I understood, it seemed like it took multiple bombs to destroy one town. Tailed beast bombs, at full strength, could easily level 1 or 2 villages back home. Could be more considering how our strength is different now. Naruto replied. Shuna had started speaking with Shizu about the different fashion and aesthetics of her world, so Naruto was free to converse with Kurama. True. Then again, your Rasengan alone could take out a small settlement if pushed with enough power. Kurama explained. He wasn't wrong either, it may take longer to charge up, but Naruto could theoretically create a Rasengan, the size of a town or larger. It wouldn't be very effective considering the time he would have to spend starting the Rasengan. That's right, but we've seen where thinking bigger and more power is worse. Think back to my fight against Sasuke. The Chidori is an assassination technique. It was created for the purpose of killing your enemy quickly and quietly. Ironic when you considered how loud the damn thing was. Both Kurama and Naruto unconsciously rubbed their ears at the memory. Anyway, back to my point. Sometimes being smaller and concise is better than being flashy and explosive. Naruto concluded. That's why you wish to do that huge fireball with a small wisp, to show your more shinobi side. Kurama began to see the benefits of this. Naruto wasn't planning on being in the public eye, outside their goblin village at least. He was going for being the equivalent of a daimyo's personal assassin. Or similar to Danzo and the third Hokage. Exactly, I'm not going to let pervy sage's teachings go to waste anymore. I'm ready to be more serious about doing everything I can to prepare to protect my precious people. Naruto stated boldly, determined to get stronger. Understood. And Kurama did understand. He's been with Naruto since the beginning. Kurama already knows how his host operates. Naruto tuned out Kurama and entered the conversation about the different world's less violent aspects. They talked about clothes, housing, population, and different races. Naruto's world was just slightly ahead of Shuna's but was majorly behind in the population of different races. Shizu's world also only had the human race. Shizu's world had the largest population in general and the best technology. Shuna's world was considered the best naturally. Their world wasn't often plagued with war, nor was it polluted like Shizu's. They continued to talk until late at night. They all had separate tents set up, and Naruto was tasked with being the night watch. He could easily go days without sleep. Plus, with his shadow clones, he had the best chance of spotting trouble. Naruto a few miles away from the campsite. So, what do you think we should work on tonight? Naruto asked his partner, as he entered the clearing he had been going to every night. It wasn't far from any of the campsites they set up, so it worked out. Well, you have had enough clones working on chakra control to properly use the Rasengan. Why not try the Chidori, mixed with Black Lightning? Kurama suggested. Naruto's eyes slightly widened in excitement, but also surprise. I thought you were saying I wasn't ready to attempt the Chidori? It confused Naruto. Just a few days ago, Kurama was all against it. What changed his mind? I had a bit of an epiphany. What if because you're using Black Lightning, which changes the lightning's color, it wouldn't affect you? The Uchiha Brat's lightning was a light blue. Making your Chidori a different color may help you, Kurama explained. It was a good idea, in theory at least. That's a good point. Plus, I have more than enough chakra control for a Chidori variant. The only real obstacle is going to be seeing it and not panicking, Naruto said. Kurama agreed and gave Naruto the go-ahead to attempt the Chidori variant. Kurama also said he would force himself into control if Naruto started panicking or something else happened. Naruto held his right palm out towards the ground with his left hand grabbing his other arm. Slowly a purple light started to appear. The light grew and grew until there was a noticeable thing in Naruto's hand. A purple, black, and white Chidori was showing brightly throughout the clearing. It continued to gain size until the very unique Chidori sound started. It was as 1,000 birds flew right by him. Naruto had his eyes closed while concentrating on creating the Chidori correctly. He opened them and slowly raised his glowing fist near his face. It mesmerized him. There was none of the despair that would have come with a regular Chidori. Instead, it was almost tranquil. The sound that came from the original Chidori was no longer there. It had slowly faded out as Naruto stared into the Chidori, longer and longer. The deafening sound was heard clearly, however. The amount of power Naruto had in his hand was amazing. This feels more powerful than my Rasen Shuriken. The name, Chidori, doesn't do it justice. I need something else, any ideas? Naruto asked Kurama suddenly. He cut off the technique as he talked with Kurama. I don't know, but I suggest going away from Chidori. Something like Lightning Blade, maybe? Kurama suggested. Naruto shook his head in a negative. Nope, that's what Kakashi-sensei called his. Or at least, that's what Gai-sensei called it after Kakashi-sensei supposedly cut lightning in half. Though if nothing else comes to mind, I'll use that. Naruto decided that his Chidori variant would remain nameless until he thinks of something. Naruto stretched and decided that was enough training for the night. He ordered his clones to dismiss in groups of 15 and then went to bed. Overall, this was a progressive trip. Camp outside Lizardmen territory. Naruto had returned to the camp quickly and quietly. He left a reinforced shadow clone while he slept. He had also ordered the clone to place some beginner detection seals around the camp. They wouldn't do anything except sending a signal to Naruto, or in this case his clone, about the person being detected. It was around 5 a.m. when it happened. Someone, or something, had crossed the line to enter the little camp. The seal they activated was farther from the camp, about 100 feet or so. The clone had decided to stalk the mystery figure until it figured out if it was friend or foe. There was a good chance it was one of the lizard men on board a patrol. The clone ascended to the tree and hopped silently, using every trick in the book it could think of to keep quiet. It had seals drawn over itself to erase sound, and that was about it. He mentally smacked himself that the original had not learned more seals. Theoretically, they could defeat almost anything with seals. Kagai came to mind. She was a goddess, though not a very good one. What kind of god lost to a bunch of teenage mortals? She would not be able to show herself in her divine realm for thousands of years without being made fun of. Back to reality, the clone was right above its target. The clone's eyes widened once it got a good view of what was there. Orc, it silently thought to itself. The clone made another clone to go back to the camp and wake up the original. Shizu and Shuna wouldn't be needed for defeating this enemy. Plus, the clone knows how much the original wants to test out his newly named technique, Thunderblade. The idea behind the name was that thunder came after lightning in terms of speed. Whenever Naruto using the technique, there's an after effect of a sonic boom. That was something they figured out through testing from a clone that he had sent several hundred miles away. The clone's clone arrived back at the camp quickly and quietly. It went towards the original's tent to wake him up. The original was spread out throughout the tent, his arms and legs stretched out to take up as much room as possible. "Boss!" the clone whisper yelled. "Boss, get up! We have a problem!" The clone walked over and started shaking Naruto. "Geez, all right. What is the issue?" Naruto asked, barely awake. He was having a nice dream about becoming the strongest in the world. Then, he could order everyone to create an international celebration of ramen. "There's an orc on the way here right now." Naruto seemed to have flipped a switch. His eyes narrowed, and he seemed to awaken himself completely. "Where?" was all he asked. "I'll pop so that you'll know exactly where." Naruto nodded and stood up as the memories entered him. "Kurama, you want to see the new technique in action?" Naruto asked his partner as he left the tent. It wasn't until Naruto had started tree-hopping that Kurama answered. "Meh. I guess so." Kurama didn't seem very interested, but Naruto knew better. His partner was just as curious as he was to test the technique. "Trust me. This'll definitely be worth it. So what if we wake everyone up? It'll be awesome to see the destruction," Naruto said excitedly. He closed in on where the clone had stationed itself and crouched near the clone. "Anything new?" Naruto asked his look-alike. The clone shook his head. "Nothing, just him walking towards the camp. I'd suggest taking him down here. That way, there are no chances of collateral damage," the clone suggested. Naruto nodded, seeing the merit in his suggestion. "Noted. You are free to dispel." The clone quickly went up in smoke. Naruto turned his attention to the walking orc. "Now how do I deal with you? I guess I'll find out when I talk to you." Naruto hopped off his branch right in front of the orc. Quickly, the orc pulled backward and prepared itself for a fight. "You smell delicious," the orc realized after a few seconds. The human in front of it had the most delicate smell of magicules he's ever seen. Thanks?" Naruto was temporarily stunned, and that allowed the orc to get a quick punch in. It was jumped forwards and allowed its weight to carry it towards Naruto. Naruto, still being slightly confused, couldn't move out of the way of the orc's punch. Naruto's body flung backward towards a tree and landed with an audible oomph. "That was just rude. Ignoring your attack, why are you here? What business do you have coming towards my camp?" Naruto questioned, completely ignoring the orc's attack. He had left his imprint on a tree and walked towards the orc again. The orc seemed to consider Naruto's words before answering. "I have come to eat you," it simply replied. Naruto just tilted his head. "What, am I some kind of delicacy to you orcs?" Naruto asked. He was genuinely curious too. If the orcs were attracted to him in some way, he could use that to his advantage. "Your magicules are the highest around this area. Any orc eating you would grow immensely stronger," the orc answered, surprisingly clear with its words. Something isn't adding up here, Naruto thought in his head. Kurama agreed with Naruto. "That aside, where are all your buddies? I thought the orcs worked under one lord at all times," Naruto questioned. His paranoia was increasing immensely as they continued talking. "Do not worry about them. You couldn't make it back there in time to save your friends anyways," the orc stated ominously. Naruto's eyes widened, and he quickly realized he fell into a trap. "Kurama, deal with this asshat. I'm going back to see if Shuna and Shizu are alright." Kurama didn't even get a chance to respond before Naruto speed blitzed his way back to the camp. HM? Did he leave his pet here to play with me? I guess you'll be a good starter meal, the orc arrogantly said. Kurama stared at the orc with an eyebrow raised. Oh? You're still here? I guess you meat sacks can't sense chakra then. The orc ignored Kurama. It assumed he was begging for mercy. Let's see how you handle this. Kurama summoned his armor and sword as he grew taller. Quickly he rose to be easily 3 times as tall as the orc. Kurama raised his sword and swung. I wonder if you'll survive this, tiny pig. The orc tried running, dodging, hiding, anything to get out of the way. He did not. With Naruto. I guess someone pissed Kurama off. Though, it's not like it's hard to do that anyways. Naruto thought to himself as he arrived at the camp. There were about 50 orcs in a circle around something, or someone, in the middle. They hadn't noticed Naruto, so he silently jumped to the trees to gain a height advantage. Naruto almost exploded with rage upon seeing what was in the middle. Shuna and Shizu were passed out on the ground in the middle of the circle. Their clothes were cut and burned at various places, showing that they fought before going down. One of the orcs started talking. Naruto assumed he was higher up in the chain of command, considering that he was taller and had better armor. Kijin and a human. You both have high amounts of magicules. Fought well too. Too bad the orcs have become the strongest race in the entire forest. The orc spoke arrogantly. Now, let's split them up and feed our army. The orc roared. His allies roared as well and moved closer to the fallen females. Naruto had seen enough. The orcs were just mere inches away from Shuna and Shizu when something stopped them. There was a cloud of dust as the new arrival started speaking. Oh, were you thinking of eating my friends? The dust moved to reveal Naruto to the group of orcs. Naruto had already made clones to move his friends far, far away from here. Naruto turned towards the leader orc while smiling. It wasn't a friendly smile. I'm going to enjoy beating the shit out of you. Just the same as you were to my loved ones. Naruto activated his chakra cloak. Now be a good piggy and stand still for me. Naruto's hand lit up with his thunder blade. You think a little lightning will hurt me? I am under the command of the Orc Lord. I am the highest besides the Lord himself. The orc continued to boast as Naruto started bending his legs. What do you think the likes of you could dash? There was silence. 1, 2, 3. Boom. The iconic sound of thunder roared throughout the valley. There would be stories passed down to children about how the surrounding area shook from the sound alone. The orc's body has disintegrated. There was nothing left. Only blood remained on the ground. Naruto didn't give any of the other orcs a chance. Quickly, he went around spamming Thunder Blade, and occasionally used his lightning technique to create chain reactions through each orc. The orcs never stood a chance. As Naruto continued with the slaughter, he remembered something Iruka taught the academy kids about the Hokages. Flashback. It was in the first year that they learned about the Hokages. Iruka had been the one tasked with educating the students. Naruto had ignored most of the lesson. Most of the Hokages were not interesting to him. That was until he mentioned the fourth Hokage, Naruto's favorite. Iruka began speaking. Now we will talk about the fourth Hokage. Minato Namikaze, also known as Konoha's Yellow Flash. He was known as a prodigy during his time, a once-in-a-generation graduate. He graduated and quickly climbed the ranks. During the war, he was Jonin, and therefore able to take a Genin team. During the war, Minato was forced to leave his Genin team behind. Kakashi, a now renowned Jonin, was left to act as a team leader. Minato would arrive just in time to help turn the tables of the battle against the Iwagakure. There's not an exact number, but rumors have it that he had single-handedly turned the battle against 1,000 soldiers. Iruka stated, with some pride in his village's past Hokage strength. Any questions? Naruto, surprisingly, raised his hand. Iruka-sensei! He yelled. Iruka sighed. Yes, Naruto? He was ready for a stupid question. Something silly, like what was his favorite color. Do you think I could be as cool as him one day? Naruto asked innocently. The other kids started laughing. They knew Naruto was dead last. What chance did Naruto have to be half as cool? Iruka, however, was stunned. Yes, it did seem like it was a stupid question, but Iruka knew better. He knew Naruto slightly before the academy. He just wants to be recognized as the fourth Hokage had been. Iruka thought sadly. He looked towards Naruto and smirked. Of course, Naruto-kun. Anyone can become the greatest through hard work and determination. Naruto would remember that lesson for years to come. Flashback end. I guess I can be like Dad. Look at me go. Following in his footsteps, Naruto quickly pivoted to dodge a punch. Too bad, I'm just going to have to do even better than him. Naruto thought as he finished decapitating an orc. All around him was blood. He was covered in blood from head to toe. Naruto stood in the middle of the clearing. All around him were the leftovers of the massacre. Body parts were thrown around, with the blood covering the forest floor. This would be the beginning of Naruto's rise to fame throughout the world. Naruto fell to his knees as exhaustion caught up with him. He slowly fell to the floor. Consciousness slowly faded out. He saw two figures running towards him. Even if they couldn't hear him, he apologized. Sorry you had to see me this way, were his last thoughts as he passed out. Shuna and Shizu after Naruto took them away. Shizu slowly opened her eyes, adjusting to the light change. Her head felt heavy, as if something was constantly sitting on her skull. Once she fully came to, she noticed Shuna sitting across from her. Shuna was in a similar shape. Shizu scooted towards Shuna and expressed concern for her friend. Are you okay? What happened? Shuna nodded her head but winced from the sudden movement. I feel okay. I just have a slight headache. I don't remember what happened. All I can recall is hearing footsteps and then darkness. Shuna said, slightly concerned at the memory loss. They had been in their tents last, she remembered. They sat together in silence for a bit, attempting to regain their bearings again. Shizu was upset. She began to debate and question where she went wrong. She had once been known to be someone fierce, strong, and dependable. Now look at her. She was under another person's protection. There was nothing she could do by herself. Naruto wasn't a bad guy by any means, but she wants to be able to rely on herself again. She was given new powers and hasn't done anything with them. That's right. She had no one to blame but herself. She was the one not taking advantage of the gift. She had been the one to stunt her growth. I swear, I will become strong again. I'll regain my independence, my individuality. Shizu thought passionately. She had her fists clenched. Her face showed a brave face. While she was having her inner debate, Shuna was having her own. Brother, Shion-chan, Shizu-chan, Naruto-kun, and everyone else. They're also looking after me, and the one time they're not, I lose without knowing what happened. Shuna wasn't upset with herself like Shizu was. Instead, she was inspired. She looked at all the powerhouses around her and swore to herself. I'll become strong. Strong enough to take care of myself, strong enough to be depended on, strong enough to scare enemies. Shuna thought fiercely. The two inspired women sat in silence for a while before Shuna came to a realization. Shizu-chan, we forgot about Naruto-kun, she yelled. Shizu's eyes widened. You're right. No more words passed between the two as they ran towards their camp, unaware of the clones following them from the branches. Camp seconds before Naruto finished. As they ran along, they could hear the sonic booms going off every few seconds. They sped up after it stopped. The forest trees stopped continuing as they ran into the opening. Shuna and Shizu stopped as they saw what had happened. The urge to vomit came quickly. The feeling was erased when Naruto looked at them. His eyes didn't quite match the smile he flashed at them. That's when he started falling. Naruto-kun. Chapter end. Tired of watching censored fanfics? Would you like to watch some very naughty, filled with the lemons fanfics without any censorship? I'm happy to announce that I opened Patreon page for you guys, where you could watch Naruto/Deku, 18+ stories without any censoring. Not only that, you can also see the NSFW images of characters of the fics on my Patreon, which I make by myself. So buy your preferred tier and join our community now. Link is in the description.